Welcome to Hollywood.
On Hollywood for this match. This again, as I mentioned, that third place match between these two teams.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited to see what these teams actually bring now because it is a Scrub Cup. It's available for players SR rank 2500 and under. So in these maps, it's going to be a lot more about mechanical skill, a lot more less about team precision. It's going to be, you're not really going to care about the comms that you're using. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be about executing properly and figuring out what you need to do. And it looks like we have a lot of really interesting compositions coming up.
Absolutely. Let's give them a couple seconds for the defensive side to set up first. Before we really do get into it, I do want to mention that if anyone who is watching is interested in learning more about the Scrub Cup, you can find out all the information below the Twitch, in the Twitch description. We do have a Discord channel, which if you join, we'll be able to find out more information pretty handily, or of course by following us on Twitter at @OWScrubCup. With that said, we can take a quick look at the defensive setup here. A little bit of a interesting composition running the Fire Mercy, which is really quite effective on this first point.
Yeah, this composition is basically built around making sure that your Pharah player is essentially the one person who deals all the damage and can stay alive. And Fire Mercy is a tough investment to make, especially on the defense, because basically you're giving up two members of your team in order to just make sure that one DPS player is going to have a standout game. But also it makes it very difficult for the other team to really shoot down your Pharah.
We're seeing a very similar composition here, running a Zarya on the defensive side rather than the Hog on the attack. But aside from that, a mirror composition between Mada and PotGCats, who from present forward will now be called just the Cats, which is a lot easier to say. But as we mentioned, that going through that server room is the attacking side of Mada. The two teams poking away at each other. The fire strikes coming out from either Reinhardt, as it looks like the attacking side going to retreat and then go through main choke instead, resetting as they don't seem to like the defensive setup that they see.
Yeah, right now it's a lot about jockeying for space and making sure you're getting high ground positioning. As you can see right now on the side of Mada, they do have the high ground, but just very barely right now, as Cats is able to get a double kill right there, so shortening down the numbers and now allowing Leak on the Reinhardt to push forward and really get a lot more of those hammer swings in. They'll have to back off because they cannot deal with both the Pharah and the Reinhardt in their face for now. So that's a good, first point defense. And right now, Tex will have the res up for the next fight on offense, so they can potentially dive in, build up enough ultimate charge, and really execute some steam.
A great hook there from Thrust as he picks down random person who was a little bit out of position there. He had an early great play, and both supports down now for the side of the Cats. This is a bit of an unpleasant situation for the defense to be in, as this gives a lot more room for the attackers to basically walk in and rain down damage, but it's otherwise not going to be able to contest it. Soldier forced to use the healing thing, but it's not going to happen. There's the res as the barrage comes from the defense, and the attackers, Tex, turning that fight very much in the offense favor, which they have not really lost as they take this fight. So the defense slowly staggering supports are now back, 75% on that res for Mercy, trying to get back as much as possible, but it's not going to matter as the attackers steamroll over pretty much everyone, and that is definitely going to be point A for the side of Mada, showing on the second push a rather cleaner fight engage, I think.
Yeah, Malik actually went completely almost uncontested. He basically did a little flank. He let his team wrap around, and once he wrapped around, he came into the main chokehold again, giving him free reign over, top of Cafe as well as on point as well. And now they do have a slight momentum. Unfortunately for the side of Cats, they actually weren't able to get everyone else on the high ground due to the slow elevator, so now they're only playing on the ground right now, which is, a good look temporarily because they will be able to have an Earthshatter up eventually after a few more pushes on this one.
One thing to note here is that the defensive side really haven't had a chance to build up their ult. The res just came in, or just came online right about now, so defense has not really been as involved in the game as they wished probably to have been. Soldier gets an early pick off, Maze taking down Malfish on that Pharah, as the two teams, again, Cart being pushed away pretty light, or pretty further. Throst gets another hook off, as proving to have started the push twice in a row now. And we are, of course, at evens, but a great fire strike and then a shoulder charge, but the hook comes in before he can complete it. So Leak is out of position now and away from his team. Steam Vision by himself, the attacking Reinhardt, Caffeine supporting all again, but a great Earthshatter, picks up 3, the Barrage is going to come in and pick up another 3. That's a great play. The whole Hog, immediately after attack visor from the high ground, takes up the remainder. So it's going to be the defense with using only one ultimate. That tactical visor is going to hold momentarily, as it's just Soldier on the cart going against a Pharah. And it's going to be the Pharah coming out on top. So, what was a great early advantage for the attackers withered away with that excellent high ground tactical visor from Maze.
Yeah, so it's, you know, around this time, especially on this set of a new stage, the second stage here of Hollywood, it's a lot of ultimate dependencies, mainly because you deal with both high ground and the fact that there's not a lot of really great avenues to push through. So I'm really looking forward to see which Pharahs can do the most damage. I remember both of them have mercies. If they really want to dedicate that pocket mercy, it is a huge possibility, but that's also a very high risk. I think that, and right now they're just kind of just waiting for the ultimate supply to come up back again, right? Tactical visor obviously being the big win condition. Rendismo has his tactical visor if he needs to use it. Right now they're just trying to clear some of the more shield-based shield-based heroes out of the way, and now they're going to be testing card. Great charge, pins the Reiner out of the way. Grab and Surge will catch in two, and now that Rocket Barrage, good combination there, takes out two, but unfortunately will be traded out. Tactical visor does get used, but this is just more so, long sustained play. Unfortunately, the Grab and Surge only caught two, and the big tanky threats are still alive. Maze gets a great Felix rocket kill on Steam Vision, and right now they have been able to defend the card. The card has not moved.
A great rotation of ultimates right now from the defensive side, as they're not using as much as perhaps that they think, or as much as the attackers wish they could, using maybe 2 ultimates at a time. They did use 3 on that last push with the Barrage and the Graviton Earthshatter, but otherwise the defense has looked a lot stronger here, and they're rotating pretty well. The attackers are a little bit spread out right now as they're setting up through the low side of the Brank. There's a great shoulder charge by Leak on the Steam Vision. Steam Vision is going to miss his revenge charge and he's going to go down. That push is almost certainly over for the attacking side. And it's going to be trading kills as Lucio again caught out of position. Throst coming in big says, no, that's not it. I'm going to take out 2 by myself. And this is going to look a little bit better now. Numbers up in the attacker's favor. And Throst on the cart looking for another hook. Can he get one? Just poking away the 2 teams.
Yeah, so one thing that is something that a lot of teams should be doing right now is more so maybe making champion adjustments based on what they're seeing. They need something to take care of the high ground right now. And yes, Pharah is a good option right here, but unfortunately it doesn't really look like they're getting any real damage on background in either case right now. Runs forward, gets a great Earthshatter, knocks Steam Vision down. Steam Vision will go down in the meantime, and now the res is forced out on the side of Tex, and the return Earthshatter catches 3 targets, 1 still on the cart. It looks like, yeah, that should be more than enough. Tactical visor will be used to clean up the rest of this fight. Rez comes back out, gets 3, but unfortunately you're running into a losing fight here. Malefic gets a few off with the Rocket Barrage, but listen, they should be able to regain control of the cart on the side of the offense.
This is, again, the offense using ultimates perhaps a little bit more loosely than the tactical visor used to clean only 1 kill up, but other than that, there had the barrage immediately after for the res, and this is going to be the attackers just going to come through, rotate ultimates, and win the fight. And right now it's just the side of, again, Caffeine, the Lucio getting the kill off on a Pharah, which is odd. There's the Graviton to capture pretty much the entirety of the offensive combination, but Sound Barrier to protect them for the meanwhile. The 2 Earthshatters coming back out yet again, and will they be able to get value out of it? We are now in overtime, so the attackers cannot get off the cart, but it looks like they will be able to capture this point as Lucio unable to get back to contest at the last moment, and that is indeed it. We are now off to point 3 for Mada. They do have, of course, just the res coming up, or res online. The defense a little bit better in terms of that ultimate economy as they push this early fight, trying to get some staggering off here, so delay the fight, the offense just a little bit.
Yeah, one thing a lot of teams can definitely work on is making sure that their ultimate economy is strong and they're utilizing the ultimates where they need it and not overcommitting. As we can kind of see here on the side of the defense on Play of the Game cast, like you are sitting on 3 ultimates. They will have res in case you need it for the next fight, so they can have a great order and support ultimates. You can res into the Sound Barrier, or you can Sound Barrier to buy enough time for your Mercy to get back onto the point. This is all about taking care of the Pharah right now. Maze up there, and now we'll use his healing station to get him back to full health. He does have a tactical visor if he needs to. Lee gets taken down by a good Roadhog hook, and now Maze needs to make sure he's able to rain down damage. He needs to take care of the Pharah in the background, but great Rocket Barrage from Shadow Mag. Unfortunately, does get answered by the res, but that's okay. You force out very early on the fight. It didn't really burn that much. Maze still holding on to this tactical visor with the Graviton Surge whipping. Doesn't really catch anyone at all, but that's more than enough for the defense to create enough space to have everyone back out. Maze will bow to tactical visor just to get one more cleanup kill on the Lucio, and now they are pushing the side of the offense back on Mada. 9 seconds left on the clock. You can see if I think Tex should be able to jump on to contest it even further, to buy themselves overtime. Tex is still alive and sets up for a great urge and actually great rocket barrage into it, and now the cart is moving.
So that is, again, another fight, a very expensive fight back-to-back for the attackers. Mada now in desperation mode as they are in overtime, but they do have the definitely the advantage in terms of the number of players on the cart. Steam Vision goes for a little bit of a roll there. There's the hook comes out. There's an initial pick. This is going to be, a very close to a C9, as it is sometimes said by Twitch chat. There's an Earth Shatter out on the cart from the defensive side. Leak is just trying to get them off the cart. This is going to be still continuing, as this is going to be the attackers definitely getting ever closer to that third and final point. Overtime still ticking out. Farah and Lucio contesting as much as they can. Zarya coming to assist the rest of her team, and the spawns coming out for the defensive side. Here comes that whole hawk to knock them away. The sound barrier for the offense as they keep knocking the players away, and this is going to be it for the attackers. The kills do come out. Reinhardt unable to get back to the point in time, but very, very close. Overtime for a 3-point capture, and we go now to see what play of the game Cats can do on offense.
0 to 3.
This is honestly for a large portion of like the skill level around the skill level that we're casting. A lot of it is really about rotating your ultimates correctly and really using them to gain a lot of momentum throughout the entire map. As we saw there, they actually got slightly stalled out on the last phase for the third studio phase, but unfortunately they were able to rotate quite a few ultimates in to keep them in the game right there. But it's all about this Scr1be phase. I think that the second phase, especially with the different levels of high ground, how narrow the corridors are, it's really hard to push the payload through here. So it's going to be all about rotating your ultimates here, committing them at the right times, and making sure that's the win condition that you guys are trying to satisfy. But in general, though, the compositions, I think that they work really well. I would have liked to see maybe something a little more of a variation there, maybe a Tracer in order to buy time. There's a lot of Zaryas in the game, so Graviton Surge could have been a really good combination with the Pulse Bomb if they were able to land, high priority targets. And I would like to see more variation here. The Mercies are obviously really strong with the Pharah, but unfortunately, I don't really think that Res was as impactful as it could be. All it ended up doing was resetting fights, and after that point, it's all about the mechanical battle.
I would agree with that very much so. We are seeing a different composition here from the attacking side. We will see if they do stick with that, what looks to be a quad DPS setup. It could be that is what's going to happen. On the defense, though, they are running the same composition. Actually, I say that, but they swapped out the Lucio for a Zenyatta, electing to have that Discord or run that speed boost on the defense. And other than that, though, the same composition for the defensive side as they had on attack. So Mada setting up here on the high ground with 6 seconds left before the round begins. As we see a triple DPS dive now from the attackers, that Sombra switching over to a Winston. So a flavor of the month, if you will. This is one thing we do see a lot currently, this triple DPS dive. So the two teams, again, poking, seeing what space is there available. Running through that main choke, but Random Person again caught up with a Fire Strike. So Random Person, one thing to keep an eye out on, dying a little too early maybe in the fight for your Lucio's liking, but aside from that, they are looking to disengage. As I say that though, they do jump right back in, and they're going to jump the high ground. The spawn's coming back in their favor. The kill does come though to the defensive first. And the offense a little stymied here. They're looking for a place, but there isn't really anyone for them to dive on, it looks like, as Caffeine is going to take out the counter support on the attackers. Cloud9 Dream, that Mercy player going down. So they're going to retreat for the moment. Lek also dies here. So again, one of those things, they're just not taking that dive composition as cleanly as perhaps they could. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is that part where dive composition really does work, because you need to be coordinated. Everyone needs to go on at the same time. However, Leak and Juice here both need to kind of coordinate. They need to make sure they're diving at the right time. They're gonna play off the Winston bubble, and now they're having a small avenue to do it. And yeah, Steam Vision taking out Juice here means that one half of the dive composition is out of the way. Discord Orb is actually gonna do a lot of work here, as Leak will go down very low and has to force to jump out back, and Thros rearranges that as well. And Mace getting a lot of really high priority kills right now. Tactical Visor will be committed right onto Steam Vision's shield, and the Mercy in the meantime hiding red stairs to try to get off a res if they can, but does not notice the back end flank right there. Thrust gets another great grab. Leak is still alive, but has been dropping extremely low. One tank out of the way, so this is where dive compositions tend to struggle a little more when you're a lot squishier. But Shadow Mage is going to be able to rain down uncontested, and the fair battle in the air is going to be very important. But they have to remember what's on the point. Whole Hog will be able to push them back up the rest there, combined with the Transcendence, and everyone topped off in the majority fight, buying some more time for everyone else to filter back in from the spawns. And now it looks like the side of Mada just being able to regain control on this side.
The hook does miss from Thross there as he's rotating up where the remainder of the attacking teams are. They're not even a full tick from that last team fight for the offense, so Play of the Game Cats somewhat up against the wall here. A minute 35 left on the clock, so time's still ticking out, and it's going to be the Winston bubble forced to be used so that they don't take a free damage from that Pharah. Random's going to jump up, Rendissimo I should say, on that soldier jumps in. Winston on the back line immediately gets support from the Pharah Mercy, so the Primal Rage will come out. There's the sound barrier as well from the attackers. Random person does get it off from the barrage just to clean up the remainder. The Earthshadow is going to capture 2, but will it be able to be enough to do any work? And it's going to be the offense looking a little bit stronger here. Only the 2 tanks left alive, and there comes out the res from the offensive side, looking very, very advantageous here now. A little bit longer, I think, than they were hoping for, but with a minute left, it looks like they are going to capture this first point and get ready for the streets phase of Hollywood.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest problems about kind of playing Mercy like with this kind of dive composition is you have to recognize that your goal is just to stay safe and stay alive. After you have ultimate, there has to be a period of time where you're just willing to say, okay, I'm just going to hide, get out of the fight, make sure no one knows where I am, and then get ready to really commit that res in order to change up the fight. They definitely had a few avenues to potentially, stall the point a little more. They do have 3 ultimates that they should be able to commit here and stall it out just a little more. 3 minutes on the clock, you pop the Tactical Visor and then wait a few, and next fight pop the Rocket Barrage. You should be able to buy enough time for the team to really commit. But right now, the cart is being moved by 3 people as once it's in the background right now with the Discord Orb on him, which is going to help the side of Mada really take care of any major tank threats. But Shadow Mage just going uncontested right now with that Pocket Mercy. It's only just getting free damage in the background. Not many kills on the clock for the offense just yet, but that's fine. They're willing to play the stall game. They're willing to build up their ultimates because right now they're losing ultimate economy.
And it looks like the offense are not going to retreat a little bit as they do lose pretty much all their players. Mercy able to get out. Swaps coming in now, so we are seeing the Winston switch over to a Reinhardt. So team compositions being switched up slightly here. On the defensive side, they do have that the ult economy on the defense looking much, much better. All they have missing is that Earthshatter. The offense getting closer to their ultimates. They do have the high ground advantage as it looks like Shadow Mage and Rendissimo going to go at each other for the moment. Turns out that Shadow Mage will retreat out. There comes the Dragon Blade from on high, going after a Roadhog, and the Tactical Visor as well from the defense. It's going to pick up 2, and it's going to be that Dragon Blade pretty much invalidated. Thross does get the whole hog off on the Reinhardt, so he will not be res by the Mercy, which has come out. Cloud9 Dream trying to keep the fight going. Cloud9 Dream going to go down, and this is the defense. Mada again showing a strong showing on the defensive side. Tactical Visor will pick up 1 as he just runs past the Rein shield. Rein's swinging away, trying to keep him down. It's going to be the kills on the Reinhardt though from JuicyR, and it's a random person comes in again, picks up a kill on the support. So it's going to be Play of the Game Cat's going to push past through this middle point here as they do win that fight, a long extended fight through the sides of both reses. But it's going to be perhaps one more fight here as we get ready for that third corner. JuicyR managed to escape the hook from Throst.
Yeah, right now they have ability to commit a lot of ultimates here. Rocket Barrage will be used to catch them off guard temporarily, but puts him up in a position where he really just has to sit there and do nothing. Transcendence will be committed to keep Steam Vision alive and basically making sure that they are able to turn this fight. Great ultimate from Malik in the background again, able to take down the majority of that team and now forced to reset. Forced to reset indeed. A barrage that didn't really get value as it was killed almost immediately, and that's going to be the last offensive player dying. So they do have exactly one more fight left as we are now down to 20 seconds left, and the cart just further away from the point, that second point capture, which the side of Play the Game Cats desperately needs to capture to be able to extend this game. And they are getting ready for that next fight. Ultimates slightly in the favor of the attackers. There comes the sound barrier, and the shoulder charge Steam Vision just stands it, takes it, and the trade's coming out even. Here comes the Dragon Blade from Juicy. We are now in overtime. Thross being besieged by JuicyR, takes out that whole hog immediately, takes down Cloud9 Dream.
but susceptible to that Earth Shatter immediately, and then shoulder charged away from the point and executed. Random person staying on the card, trying to get that, just to keep that overtime in effect. The Earth Shatter on random person, that means that he is going to die. Yes, and they have to get back to point. Juicy will have to be there. Leak gets shoulder charged away. Juicy has to stay on that point, and the payload again. So now in overtime, back-to-back overtime double captures now on this second point for both teams, as we get set for this third and final point for play of the game Cats.
One thing all teams can definitely improve on is making sure that their target calling during comms is a lot clearer. It kind of looks like once fights start to evolve and you get into the later portions of the fight where not everyone has ultimate, so it's not very obvious when you need to commit and who you need to engage on. It's important for your team to really call out and make sure you guys understand who you guys want to focus. It's better to create these, 4v5 situations or these 4v6 situations and be able to catch out, a brand or a certain high priority target in the background. And now Randismo right here on the high ground, able to rain down much damage from a belt. He recognizes that he only really has to worry about the Genji and the Pharah, so having a pocket there will allow him to stay alive and make sure that he's able to commit a lot more damage. Steam Vision misses the charge, and unfortunately will be locked out in the background, but he's buying the room from Malifi to really rain down more damage from above. No one's being able to really contest him as much, and Cloud9 Dream is the target they want to take down. They do not want him to deal with the rest of this fight, but we'll see Cloud9 Dream makes it out alive and doesn't die to the Rapid Barrage. Good Earth Shatter comes out, catches 3 or 4, and now the return from the side of defense is going to be initiated. They know that there's no res on the fight anymore. Maze will try to stay alive, but it looks like they should be able to stagger him in the fight. So with 6 seconds left, it doesn't look like anyone will be able to touch the cart. I think that if anything, they'll do it immediately, and it looks like no one will get on the cart in time, and that means that map 1 goes over to Mada.
Mada definitely showing the rotations properly at the end of the map there. Maze did get some early picks off on the side of play of the game Cats, but unfortunately weren't able to really transfer that into a snowball down the later sides of the map, and Throst comes in, picks off 2 kills with that hook, and ends the map as we look at our play of the game here in this match. Hollywood, so Lek, I'm going to say League is how it's pronounced, I could be wrong. But it's going to be this shoulder charge on the Reinhardt to continue the fight that caught them the third point, or second point, I should say. But with that, Mada does take a 1-0 lead in this best-of-3 series for this to figure out who our third-place team will be as we wait for the picks and bans of the next map before we get into it.
Yeah, they'll look like a pretty clean game overall for the side of Mada, and at the end of the day, it all really comes down to ultimate management, being able to really abuse some of those. But I think one thing both teams can definitely work on is working on their target calling just a little more. And this is an issue a lot of teams will struggle with, especially when you're trying to get used to comms, trying to get used to who's the guy who's going to be picking out targets, how do our DPS like to play around everything, and being able to do that really means that they have a very strong advantage going in if they're able to coordinate very well. So this can mean anything from calling out what you want your soldier to target, from anything of what your Pharah is targeting currently, and how your tanks can build off of that and hopefully create more space.
More space indeed is something. I will say that one of the things we saw from the two teams is we saw a little bit more creativity from the side of play of the game Cats. They chose to run that dive composition on point 1. It was a little shaky at the beginning, but they cleaned it up, I think, as they captured it and moving through the streets phase. A couple of things that if they cleaned up, they can definitely take Mada back and definitely show they can definitely tie this and win and even come back in the series, I think, as we get ready for this next map. It will be Temple of Anubis, play of the game Cats attacking first, I believe, and Mada will be defending. So the colors from the last map are switched in this current one. It will be play of the game Cats in red and Mada in blue, as we do hear the ready commands from captains and we load into the map, Temple of Anubis. Let's go.
I'm actually really interested to see what compositions come out here, just because Tempo Anubis, there are a lot of different strategies and philosophies behind, defending this and attacking it as well. For defense, you have a lot of really good options, including Symmetra and Mercy, in case you want to bridge the long distance you have to run back. So typically more Symmetras will be able to set up shield generators if they're already winning the fight and all they need to do is stabilize, or they can just run, TPs, and that is to kind of like allow them to get back onto the point and stall a little more. But in general, it's all about not getting snowballed. A lot of teams, especially in this kind of like this rank or this setting, will have troubles kind of like figuring out, okay, is it time for us to give up this point, or do we still want to contest and stall out? And this is oftentimes what offenses are able to capitalize off of. If your team kind of isn't able to reset properly and you're trying to fight a 4v6 while the opponent is able to capture first point and then pushes on to second, you don't want to be caught out again. You don't want to make sure that you're fighting losing fights man down all the time. So it's all going to be about resetting properly, getting back into position, and then thinking, okay, what are our next steps? What ultimates do we really need to consider?
Enough waiting around.
Before we get started, a quick shout out to the attacker side, who are having a little bit of fun here in Spawn with a dance party of all things. So something that perhaps to lighten the mood in chat, in comms before the game or before the match starts. The defense running a double tank composition with that Far Mercy and then a Zenyatta Soldier combination. Frost on that Roadhog to round it out. As we get ready to see what the attackers have, they are running that dive composition, so something that Play of the Game Cats has shown that they have in their pocket and is willing to pull out. As we get ready for this initial look, Zarya poking early on, trying to just get a little bit of energy before they perhaps take the fight to the team. And they don't see what they like, so the Winston will switch over to a Reinhardt and a dive composition no more. And it's going to be a slow, steady fight as they rotate up that right side due to the Play of the Game Cats. And Frost uses the hook and captures an early kill, but there is a trade here as Shadow Mage will take down Soldier. And it's going to be the defense forced to retreat ever so slightly, as on the highest of the part of the map are the attackers. And Frost coming in on the back line, picks off another kill. Is he going to be able to get another one? And it's going to just be the fire on the points for the defense to stabilize here. Frost besieged in the corner by 2-3 players. Will he be able to get out? He jumps back to points, self-heals, and is fine for the moment. So, attackers not be able to get much value out of that initial push, but looks like they are not quite able to retreat yet, as they're waiting for their spawners to come back in.
Yeah, good job on Frost. They're really just buying enough time trying to 1v3 the enemy team does not die. This is kind of where Discord really comes in handy. But now they are able to take down Caffeine. That's one healer left out of the equation, and Leaf is able to push forward a little more. Leafik will take out his counterpart in the air, giving him all the air dominance that he needs. And now the side of a Play of the Game Cats is going to get caged in very slowly. This is why going up the right side here is extremely risky. If you're trying to play against an AoE damage dealer, you're basically just funneling yourselves into this little chokehold and assume that you'll be able to win a lot of these fights. However, Maze has been able to take out Malefic, meaning that he does not have anything to worry about. Charge is going to be committed in the backline, will get followed up. And the good res will bring the Pharah back up into the fight. So this is another one of the win conditions back up again, and it looks like the rest of the side of the Play of the Game Cats are able to get tactical visor off. Unfortunately, not much you can do there, but it's all about stalling out time here. Res will be committed. Maze is back up again, and it looks like the side of Mada just not able to regain control onto the point. That Transcendence is popped just a second too late, not able to save Malefic, and it looks like all they'll be able to do is stall more onto the point. And this is one of the situations where it's pretty difficult. Realistically, Mada should be backing up, figuring out what ultimates they're ready to commit for the next fight if they can, and it looks like, yep, they are going to full reset, and they're just going to focus on defending the second point.
One thing that Mada definitely did, though, that really will hinder Play of the Game Cats in this next push is by stalling out that long, they forced more ultimates out. So even though they lost the point, they just prevented a snowball from happening here on second point, which is going to be very efficient, as they only have Earth Shatter, Sound Barrier, and Graviton coming up, but not much more to combo with them. So if they can definitely stabilize here, the side of Mada here on that second point. As we see them rotating through the left side, I should say, will the attackers the Play of the Game Cats. And that's definitely a fun one to say. The Earth Shatter from behind picks up 3. The kills won't be there. As I say that, though, the 2s do come in. Sound Barrier from the offense. A bit of a wasted Sound Barrier as the fight is over already. And that's going to be it for the attackers as this push is over. And using Earth Shatter and Sound Barrier for it.
Yeah, And one thing that the side of the defense can really use this to their advantage is if they know that the enemy offensive team is going to be more loose with their ult, they're going to panic ult, and they're going to have the assumption that we can win this, right? It's all about, you know, for the offense, it should be about engaging together as 6, right? You want to save all your ultimates until you can have the optimal engagement. But oftentimes what happens, especially in these very crowded fights, is that you lose one person, but in the back of your head, you're thinking, okay, we can still win, so you pop an ultimate to make more room. I would really like to see the defense, you know, try more stuff like staggering opponents specifically to buy themselves more time, or even baiting out ultimates.
As we see the first kill comes on the defensive side, and Malefic is going to pick up the initial, just raining down damage, really rather uncontested, casually sitting there and spamming left click, and gets 2 kills for his trouble. So that's going to be the attackers forced to retreat in the moment. As a very efficient end to a non-fight there, as Malefic picks up a 3rd one and says, "How do you do? That fight is definitely over." And attackers reset, respawn, getting ready for that next fight.
This is a good reset because they have a bunch of ultimates that they can basically commit into the fight. If I'm Tex right now, I'm just going to be hiding. I'm not even going to be bothering damage and amplification or healing whatsoever, just because that beam will give away my location. So I would just sit somewhere and know that you're going to commit Graviton, you're going to commit like Rocket Barrage, you're going to commit even their own res for the rest of this fight. And it's all about making sure that you can save as many ultimates as you can. Bull Hog will be used in the right side alley just to commit them out of the way into an Earth Shatter, and that's a great way to take advantage of the fight right there. Rez will be burned, but fortunately does not save Maze, so yes, he is able to, you know, restore that balance due to that Earth Shatter. But it looks like on the side of Mada, they're just able to save so many more ultimates. Rez is still available, and right now they're flanking from right behind. Graviton Surge is going to be committed right into the Transcendence, but it gives more time for Malik to Rocket Barrage if he can. Transcendence is still alive, keeping everyone alive. Shadow Mage will take down Steam Visions at the very end of that ultimate, but it looks like the side of Mada just being able to commit enough ultimates to stay alive. Tex still has res, oddly enough.
Tex still has res. A very clean fight win from the defense. Thross with that clean engage takes the fight early. So one thing that is typical of a defensive dive that you don't really see from a death ball nearly as much as, which is again typified by the that Reinhardt setup, is that dive is usually very aggressive on defense, whereas this more standard composition tends to be more passive. And Thross says that's not what's going to happen. We're just going to engage early, and they're going to take the fight and win. Steam Vision, though, caught out missing his charge, and just gets charged in return, and the Helix Rocket from Maze is going to be used. So Maze, now with no shield to really worry about, has free range here to try and do as much damage as possible. Now I think he's going to pick up 1, but it's definitely looking in attacker's favor right now. Steam Vision finally respawns, does get his charge back off, and 2 CP spawns, are being what they are, is going to allow the defense here to restabilize. No res yet for the attackers, so not quite a reset here for that team. And we see the 2 teams again focusing each other. May is just trying to burn that shield down. The hook comes out, Mercy's going to go down, so the res will not come out. At least not being able to be built, and that's going to allow the attackers to just build a presence on the point. And no, actually with that, I say that, but they are going to retreat, as Mercy with that pistol, surprising amount of damage, by the way. Everyone's favorite Mercy meme does get the kill off, ending that push.
Yeah, Mercy actually has more DPS than Hanzo, which is just a fun fact, just because of how fast her blaster shoots. But good job on Malik right there, being able to, you know, be uncontested. It's oftentimes really hard for a Ferret to find room, but he's been able to really evade any damage as he can. And now the side of Mada, just being able to go in deep right there. They're forcing the side of Play the Game Cats to filter in through some of the funnels, right? So the left side specifically, it's very easy for a Ferret to take control of this situation. And now the Ferret is trying to get into a position herself to get a good Rocket Barrage on a backline if they can. Now they're slowing down to around 29 seconds, so this execution needs to be perfect because they don't really have any flankers who can touch the point to really set overtime. So anything that can go wrong here, but Leafy getting into the backline, triggering a Rocket Barrage, that could basically mean the end of this game.
Malefic in that same high ground position he was earlier. That's going to just end the fight right there. Takes out 3, takes out 4 by himself, sprays to clean it up, and that is most likely it for this first attack. As Thross will get the hook, the Earth Shadow comes in to just keep the people off the point. Leak doing what he can, but bullet into a corner. Malefic comes in and cleans up, and overtime in effect, but there is absolutely no way for the team to get back. Overtime ticks out. Tactical Advisor will get 1, but a small consolation prize it is. As round 1 complete, we now go for side Mada on attack.
0-1. Switching sides.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested in why these teams aren't running more like Tracer or running Genji, just because, you know, their flankers are actually really good to be able to set overtime and touch the points, as well as setting up really good flanks. One of the hardest parts about running kind of like a non-dive composition into something like Pharah is that you have to figure out a way to address the Pharah rate. If you're not running, you know, a Zenyatta, you don't have a Discord Orb, it makes it very difficult for a team that only has one hit scan character to really take the Pharah out of the fight. So I'm actually would be more interested to seeing them try to have some player go into the flank position, draw people out of position, and then execute on that. I think that, you know, having Winstons or having something that can dive in and make your fight all about these 1v1s more effectively, that would be the best change for a lot of teams to make. But at the same time, you play what you're comfortable with.
Play what you're comfortable with is a fair comment, and it's a question some people have asked recently, like, is it better, especially on ladder, where you see a lot of people picking off-meta picks or picks that perhaps don't fit the composition quite as cleanly? Does it make more sense to have the correct composition, or heroes that, or have people play heroes they are more comfortable with? And I don't think anyone quite has the answer yet, but definitely a philosophical debate to be had there, as we see the defense running a standard 2-2-2, a composition that is pretty familiar to most. Running a Mei though as a second damage dealer here, so Mei's on the Mei, and I got twisted up there as the two sounds very similar. Shadow Mage switching over to Soldier, which Mei's had been playing prior, so a bit of a team composition swap from the defensive side of Mada, or sorry, of Play of the Game Cats.
Mada's switch over to having Tex run the D.Va here is actually a big switch. D.Va will be able to neutralize the Soldier in the backline, and now he has the ability to both defense matrix Mei's ultimate as well as Zarya's ultimate as well. So if he's able to time that defensive matrix just well, he can put a lot of pressure on these high priority ultimates, which they're going to use to try to hold these points. But in the meantime, though, Malefic, he's going to be the person to watch as he's going to try to get a pick and open up the rest of this game.
Sitting on the low ground, looking to see what he can find. Doesn't really see much. That Rhyme Shield up there providing a lot of blockage. Maze jumps right back in though, hit by that grenade from Ana, and then down to half health. Cannot ice block due to the fact that that bionic grenade is in, but Juicy will get the shield off to reset it, and the fight, just a little bit of a casual poke here in that main courtyard area on Temple of Anubis, as it looks like they also elect to go up the right-hand side. But Mei will block them off and just prevent them from walking back in, allowing a shoulder charge to come back in. The bio grenade, though, will prevent the side of the attackers from going down, be getting weak. Tex does filter the point, caught out, and will be frozen by the Mei, and then taken out of mech, and then just executed rather unceremoniously by Maze. Shoulder charge comes in, doesn't capture anyone in it, and he's going to get hit with the other side's shoulder charge, and down he goes. So Throst will be executed. Again, another switch here as Throst is on the Reinhardt rather than the Hog that we've seen from before. And this fight is pretty much over now for the attackers.
Yeah, when your Reinhardt goes in like that, you have to make sure that you're pocketing him very well. That means Rendizmo needs to just be focused on him, only healing him alone, really committing the grenade here. And Maze's ice block will be down good. Cloudnade able to prevent healing on both the Zarya and the Mei. If they can win this fight underneath her, this would be actually really beneficial here, but it doesn't look like the rest of the team is with them. Throst will take down Mei in return, and now Caffeine able to pop down a tactical visor from behind, able to take down majority of the team coming back in. Cloud9 Dream can only do so much to get stay on the point, and this is where it really gets difficult. You really need to be super coordinated. You cannot be giving out the point like this as the rest of the team kind of falls apart. So while the rest of the side of Play the Game's Cats were more focused on really fighting out whatever was going on in high ground and really trying to stall out the fight there, they kind of ignored the fact that there were two people already on point, which meant that it was really hard to retake that and reset. It looks like, though, there are quite a few ultimates on the side of Mada to push through. They have the nano boost if they need it. They can put it on the Soldier to help build up ultimate, or they can just put it on Throst on the Reinhardt, and they can get a great commit of a fight into Urshan.
Malefic very, very weak here, so will he be able to survive? The Reinhardt comes in with a shoulder charge, does get nano boosted, and then booped away right back into the shoulder charge of Leak. So a clutch play there from the Reinhardt from the defensive side. Here comes the self-destruct and the Blizzard. The Blizzard will freeze the offense, though, and Maze will clean up, but the res comes out right away as it's going to be Leak shoulder charging his way through, picks the D.Va off, and her mech goes down very, very weak. Malefic's still at basically 0 health, but is allowed to rain down damage from above. The Earthshatter comes out as Leak gets it, but he revenge Earthshatter from Throst as the sound barrier to keep the team alive for the Mada. And this is going to be the defense stabilizing for the moment, as it's going to be all red in that kill feed, as we mentioned. And Malefique hit with a fire strike and finally dies.
Yeah, for player of the game cats right there, was actually a really, really good spacing of ultimates right there. Random person specifically, I think, held on to Sound Barrier until he needed it, right? So that was when the return Earth Shatter was committed there. Random person able to pop and keep the rest of his team alive, and that bought them enough time to really recover from that stun and regain the fight. So now Juicier has the Graviton Search available, and Shadow Mage should be able to get a Tattoo Advisor in the process in a Cloud9 Dream. All Mercy needs to do right now is stay alive once you build the ultimate. They have a lot of room to work with. Rendismo is the only person that's going to be close to developing an ultimate at all. And in the meantime, as we've seen before, a lot of these teams have struggled with entering onto the point without ultimacy.
Ultimate commission, a word that does not make any sense in this context, but the shoulder charge misses on the sleeping target, so the bio grenade though, the shoulder charge will come back in and the graviton as well, so it's going to capture pretty much the entirety of the attacking team on that right hand side, the three remaining there, as it's going to be Frost frozen, hit with a bio grenade, so he's kept up for the moment. Ana doing a lot of work here. Randissimo, there's that May Blizzard is going to capture Randissimo out, so unable to keep himself up as well as he kept the rest of his team up. And the rotation happens now from the attacking side as they rotate through that right-hand side of the point, looking to build as much ult percentage. Again, they only have to capture 33% of the point here. They do have 3 minutes 17 left, so while this push is over, the res comes out, only capturing one, a questionable ultimate on the side of Mada Mada. So they will have to reset here, as that attack, that push failed somewhat.
Yeah, this is kind of a situation which oftentimes will happen if your team is not super coordinated. You have a bunch of players trying to go into the right side alleyway right there underneath my crypt. So a lot of players will roll through there. But at the same time, they had half their other team, especially their Soldier and Diva combination, trying to attack point normally, and they weren't able to actually capture or backcap anything at all at that time. So it's good to, have that flank mentality in mind where you want to always approach point from different locations, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your team knows what you're doing, you're able to engage together. Now, the change onto, I think they changed back onto Zen for this fight, actually opens up a lot of good room. Landing a Discord allows him to do a lot more damage, and Malefique back onto, has been so strong on the Pharaoh so far. You really want to make sure he has an easy time as possible getting any of these kills. In the meantime, it would look like Malefique is going for a flank position, does spot out Shadow Mage in the back line, and Ice Block is now burned from Maze though, so they will not have that ability to sustain out the fight if they need to, but they need to be able to commit. They're moving a little too slowly. They're not even gaining ground, even though Reinhardt is holding his shield up. And if a shield's up, you really want to advance behind it and put more pressure, but it looks like they're committing so much shield damage and they're not really moving anything.
They do need to move to the point because that what was once a huge time advantage is slowly trickling away down to 140 left. Ross is going to go down to half his flank on the right hand side. That flank hog, a very popular position these days. And Throst is caught out all alone with the rest of his team just sort of ambling at the choke. And he's going to be besieged as Malefique goes down. Throst is trying to self-heal his way out, but he's just frozen by May. And to add insult to injury, he's probably going to get walled off before he gets to that health pack. Doesn't even get there as he's left-clicked down by random person. So that fight is over. And we're waiting now again. So the side of Mada Mada down to only a minute left. So they have at best 2 fights before the map ends. And we end in a draw. But the two teams, again, resetting, seeing what they can do, looking to see what avenues of attack are available. And slowly walking down that middle lane are the side of the attackers. Mada Mada looking their chance to engage. Steam Vision is going to run through. The Hog comes in. Throst with the hook, picks off Leak. Leak is going to go down, so no Earth Shatter here. There's that Blizzard on the point, and the Graviton to keep the 2 people in it, make sure they can't escape. That's going to be 2 kills. And Steam Vision will pick off a great shoulder charge. There comes the res out from the offensive side. This is not looking good for the defense as Juicier is going to fall, try and stall it as long as possible. Leak will be able to get back in, but Malefice gets the thing, and that's going to be it. As with that barrage, even though he does die, match complete, point captured. This is it. Mada Mada takes the lead, takes the game 2-1, and the series 2-0.
Yeah, that was actually a really good. That's kind of like the thing you really need to do, right? Even though you might not be, you might be fighting like a really bad fight. You might be down ultimates. It's all about getting a good commit right there and good transcendence on the side of Caffeine, keeping the side of Steam Vision alive in that entire fight. He was such a high priority player in there, and yeah, as we can kind of see right there, that's exactly what you need to do. You really need to take out the Mercy. You really want to buy some more time, keep your front lane tanks alive, and buy enough time for Malik really to drop a lot of damage in the background. He didn't even commit his rocket barrage until the very end, so he was able to clean up the fight in case anyone really wanted to roll in there. But good job from Mada there, conserving ultimates and winning a fight that honestly did not look very winnable at the very start of it.
A great turnaround from Mada. So again, as we mentioned, some great play from them. They take third place in our Scrub Cup. And that is it for Play of the Game Cats, as their final position in the ladder will be fourth. Mada taking that coveted third place in this fight. And with that, we are going to drop these two teams. We are going to look to get the remaining two players for the remaining two teams, I should say, for the grand finals. And that will be coming up very, very shortly, as we will see which teams those are, and or rather get them into the lobby, and we will get that on the road as quickly as possible.
Prepare to attack.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Scrub
Select
Cup
your
Grand Finals. Back here on Lijang Tower, our two teams tonight. Off-Meta Athena, which, by the way, is a great name, and Blackwatch. I'm your caster, Lafon. With me, Scr1be. How's it going, my man?
Oh, it's not going too badly. I'm actually really excited to see what teams are going to bring out here on King of the Hill. Oftentimes, you kind of look around this ranking. You really want to force dive, and I think the team with the best dive oftentimes will do the best. So it's just a matter of looking forward to see how they're able to execute.
Off-Meta Athena, hopefully living up to their name. It's always amusing when you get to see different compositions and picks that perhaps you may not otherwise see. But on the side of Blackwatch, they're running a Winston-Reinhardt combination, so not a true dive, a little less mobile perhaps. They do have a Mercy and Zenyatta, so that's going to be the composition. They are on the other side running the Tracer instead of the Bastion. Unlucky. Could have been a chance, but no. CD going with a Reaper instead. So some early picks. It's going to be a dive from the side of off-meta Athena, and on the side of Blackwatch, a pseudo dive as we get ready here on Night Market on Lijang Tower. The first map in this best-of-5 grand final for the Scrub Cup dominance. And here we go. The Winston will jump in, and Hassanim just going to initialize with that. It's going to get an early pickoff. So the sides of the red team taking off this early picks and going to be the early kills. So that's going to be point A in Blackwatch's favor.
Yeah, when you're playing against dive compositions, you normally never want to just jump onto point and let them engage onto you. Typically, you want to skirmish out by lions and just kind of fight for the first victory, win the first team fight, and then capture the point. I think what the side of off-meta Athena was trying to do was bait them into CD on that Reaper, so instantaneously you're able to fight this. And it looks like one of the members has disconnected. We will get a pause here, and I guess it's fine right now because all they're doing is stacking up to re-engage, but let's figure out what's going on with them.
Looks like a DC happened, so it's never a grand final without a quick some technical issues, as anybody who's watched these kind of things before will know. One of the perils of internet gaming is that disconnects do happen, so we will try and get that done as quickly as possible, try and get the player back into the lobby. But until then, what are your thoughts on this composition of a dive comp but with a Reinhardt instead of another DPS or a more mobile tank?
I don't even think of this as a dive comp, actually. It's kind of more so just a composition that wants to send Genji and Winston in together while you really have more backline threats from Soldier and having Discord available. So I mean, it would be more of a dive composition if we had one more flanker or if it was a defense of a Reinhardt. So instead, I'm thinking their objective is more so, let's just build more space for the soldier. Let's engage and really build more room for the soldier to really get the job done. And of course, you have a lot of really good clear ultimates with, the Genji available. You have a great Earth Shatter, especially if we look at the other team. Other teams running a full dive as well. So it's kind of a good way to kind of counteract what you want to see from the other team.
Absolutely. And I mean, it seemed it worked pretty cleanly on that first point as they just went in, engaged, and the Winston and Genji combo went in and cleaned up the team and allowed the rest of the side of Blackwatch to come back in and provide that support in the rear end of the fight, and I mean turn them over into the fight, or turn into a point capture, I should say. And while we're just gonna wait a little bit again, we're still waiting a little bit longer for that DC to reconnect, but until then, yeah, I mean, it's tough to analyze something this early on in the map. It's a bit of the positioning is a bit awkward for both teams. Again, as we mentioned, that fight had just ended, so a reset of the play happened. So there is the rejoin of the player. Shadowcat is back in the game, and we're just going to wait for both teams to ready up, and then we will, of course, unpause and get set for some more gameplay. So here we go. Captains look like they have, in fact, readied. And away we go. So, it's going to be a fight that happens, and without Shadowcat, this is going to be a very unfortunate fight, but Blue gets the initial kill, so Moose is going to go down first. But the tank, Hadley, is going to go as well. So, right now, numbers are even, as Blackwatch gets another kill up on the Genji going after Hassanim, I should say. So Blackwatch is going to defend, and even though it was once a numbers advantage, or was a numbers disadvantage for them, is going to be very much in their favor. They're just going to stomp over. The Dragon Blade comes out to kill only the 2 remaining players. Moose and just skirmishing on the point, and CD in that backline. So Hasanem only got 1 out of that kill, and Moose forced to reset with the team as a suicides. A bit of an unnecessary Dragon Blade, I think.
Yeah, you know, obviously you can say like I just want to commit in order to clear up the points so we can at least, you know, recapture so you don't have to worry that much. But I do agree with you. Maybe it wasn't overcommittal, but at the same time, you know, they have a lot of ultimates on their team, so I'm not exactly worried if I'm just wasting a Dragon Blade, especially since your win condition is more so on soldiers.
Very true. Indeed. They do have to get deep out of mech as that defensive matrix. Very, very tough for all soldiers. But here comes the Death Blossom from CD as they just built it up and no pressure on the point as the tanks go down. That's going to be a very clean engage as Primal Rage and Death Blossom used to clear out the point. There's a lot of disruption from that Primal Rage, and that just allowed C to just walk in, press Q, and get a 3K.
Yeah, I don't really get why they held so much on the side of Blackwatch. They had all these ultimates that they were available, and they kind of knew that our win condition here is really just to out-sustain them. So, you know, they should have realistically popped their Transcendence immediately as Zenyatta was starting to die. But now they are going to be able to re-engage, and this is where having the Reinhardt really does help, because now you can just push through without having to worry about any long resets.
Here comes the Tactical Visor. The shoulder charge will come in. Trance comes in as well. Self-destruct matrix sequence, I should say. Confusing the 2 terms together. And the bringing down the mech gets a kill on Shadowcats. Not something you see very often, but Hasanem getting those death reset, dash resets, and just dashes through the team and cleans it up. And the point will be captured yet again by Blackwatch. So a great retake there from Blackwatch.
Yeah, this is kind of where the side of, you know, off-meta Athena will have some issues, is now that they're really running down on time, and Hasanem really has, you know, that Dragon Blade if he needs it. And everyone's just run by him right now, so he's just going to wait for the sound barrier to wear off. As long as this team can sustain and just stay alive, they really just need to go even here, and they should have the win.
Here comes that Dragon Blade, as we mentioned, but Schmook coming big, picks up with 2 final blows. Dragon X forced out of Max. CD trying all he can as Moose on the point as well. The Pulse Bomb is going to whiff, and Blackwatch cleaning up the point. This is going to be it. So point 1 goes to Blackwatch as off-meta Athena. A little bit more pressure towards the later stages of the game, but definitely looking a little bit lost early on. Hopefully they can come back in the next round and sort of reclaim some power from the Blackwatch side.
Here specifically, it's all going to be about changing up your composition and realistically trying to see what's giving you guys the most trouble. Their composition right now, the main reason why I'm like not a huge fan of it is because they're also running a Mercy here. So Mercy, while yes, it's a very good choice if you want to res fights, especially, you know, against Tactical Visor, or against, you know, a Dragon Blade, even though it is now being switched off to McCree. Mercy doesn't really have a lot of like set things that can protect her. Sure, she'll be around like the Lucio and the Soldier as well, but you actually want to commit a full dive. So maybe Ana or Zenyatta would be, you know, would be a better option, just giving yourselves a little more range on the healing here.
And it's going to be a dive composition coming out from the side of off-meta Athena, something that they did have in the previous run. They're choosing now a Winston D.Va combination, so Blue going to be forced out of mech early, so Blackwatch no longer with that D.Va mech, and this is going to be numbers to the advantage of Blackwatch, or of off-meta Athena, I should say. And Hasanem, it just left uncontested, goes after the Mercy. Schmook left all alone and is going to go down, so a major line of support lost, and Tac Buffalo comboing with Zenyatta is going to end off-meta Athena's chances right there. So although the trade kills come through, it's looking much better right now for Blackwatch than it is for off-meta Athena.
Yeah, Blackwatch is really playing around the Reinhardt extremely well. They understand that the Reinhardt, having the shield available, is able to bring a lot of damage on people like CD in the background, and Moose is very limited as to what he can do, especially if the Reinhardt is taking advantage and creating space for his backline as well. So they're playing around this Reinhardt extremely well. They're making sure he's staying alive, and I really like the committal from Shadowcat there to make sure our Arcana Mesa stayed alive in the backline and was able to continue to heal. And now the ultimate economy is in a really good place. Tac Buffalo also will be available in case the tanks want to dive in, so that's a good adjustment on this side.
Yeah, here comes that engage from Winston as he just jumps into the main body of it, but the first shoulder charge is going to come off on Moose, and that's a very unlucky play. Dragon Blade as well, and Tactical Advisor used. the self-destruct sequence comes out from Dragonix, and it's going to pick up one as Blue unable to get back in mech. So off Mada Athena skirmishing right now. They're in a bit of a better position as they have a little bit more value in terms of who they have on the point. Hasaname does get a dash, and Dragonix will get a kill though. And Dragonix coming in clutch, picks up 2 for himself, but Shadowcat gets back. Skirmish not ended quickly enough to prevent the res. And Kufis there does get the bubble off, so blocks off the Earth Shatter. Point still taking though, as Blackwatch still has control. And although it looks favorable right now for off Mada Athena, as they do have that presence on point, it is still, the skirmish still taking a very long time to end, as only now do the players start to die. There's the Transcendence used to bait out as much time on point as possible, as they are up 74%. But it's going to be captured now as the Transcendence wears off. But Blackwatch just putting a lot of time on that point and really holding it out. And a great Pulse Bomb though from Moose as he picks up 2 for himself. And that's going to end a push from Blackwatch, at least temporarily.
Yeah, honestly, there, especially in those situations, you really want to value getting more time on the clock and getting more percentage. So it probably would have been better off for the Zen to die on point and then immediately have the Reinhardt charge in, get him a little more ult percentage, just buy some more time to stagger, right? Your win condition here is you really basically know you've lost the fight, so all you're willing to do is keep the percentage ticking up. And that is a really good strategy you can do to potentially get even up to 80% and make your second take a lot easier.
But as we mentioned, here comes Blackwatch. First kills are going to be coming through. The shoulder charge picks off nobody, but the self-destruct comes in with a great triple K. And just like that, Blackwatch putting themselves in a great position to succeed, as only Farah and Diva left alive here. And McCree executing CD. Hasaname, not much there. So the same properties used here as Dragonix is just trying to charge out or use as much time on percentage on the point. Hasaname though does go down to Ananke of all players, the Lucio, as Primal Rage does come out of Kufa's just a knock away. Again, trying to build percentage up here. And it's worked pretty well as the stagger does come back in. And off Mada Athena a little bit better now. And what was once a rather losing fight has now stabilized pretty effectively. And they're just going to hold here and finally take clock advantage on the point. So off Mada Athena definitely showing a little bit more poise here on the second point.
I'm actually kind of confused as to why they didn't capture that point. It kind of seemed like Blue was sitting on the point just emoting and didn't really bother and saying like, okay, if I clear up them off the point, I can reset the clock and get the percentage ticking back up into our favor. So now they're looking to engage specifically. Deadeye will be popped as Hasan is looking for CD on the bottom. Unfortunately, gets eaten up by the defense matrix, but Attack Buffalo will be taking on Anarchy in the background. And now in the background, Rez will come out reviving through, and Transcendence will try to sustain off the rest of this fight and try to buy some more time, but CD unfortunately is able to take down Hadley. Hadley does not get the healing from the Transcendence. Hasaname in the background though is able to roll in and try to contest a little more. Will be kicking out Smoke, so no more healing for the Pharaoh that will be available. Meanwhile, Shadowcat trying his best to keep the rest of the team alive, but one Mercy is just not nearly enough here, as bubbles will be going down in order just to keep everyone alive just a little more. They send in the Diva Mech in to clear up any stragglers onto the point, but it looks like the side of Blackwatch is actually able to gain some more momentum onto the point. They really need to have better target selection here and make sure they clean out Moose or CD or one or the other before they start trickling in from the side of the defense.
So a trade comes out as Blue takes down CD, so that's going to be it. But Blackwatch taking that skirmish for a long time, as overtime is still in effect and has been for quite a while. But the spawners are coming back in for both sides, and the fight continues to go. Blackwatch, of course, cannot get off the point even for a moment, as the overtime will take out remarkably fast. Down goes Zen, but Schmoop as well. So the two supports out for both sides. Here comes that Deadeye, just trying to build as much time, and that's going to be it. Blackwatch takes off 2, as Kufa is forced off point, does die. CD able to get back before overtime. Sorry, does take it, and that's going to be it, as Blue, the only one left alive. Or, as I say that, here comes the remainder of Blackwatch, as Moose and CD still going at it. This fight lasting a very long time. The Primal Rage will knock people off the point, but here comes that Rocket Barrage to pick off 2, or pick off 1, I should say, as Mercy does go down, so no res coming out from Blackwatch quite yet. Schmoop also dies, so neither res available for this fight. And overtime, again, still in effect, so the fight has been continuing for a large portion of time. And overtime, dangerously fickle here, as Blackwatch, again, cannot get out for even a moment. As overtime trickles out slightly, the fight continues, and there goes the kill. And Shadowcat unable to get the res back in time. A long fight, but one that off-meta Athena wins in the end. We're all tied up at 1.
Yeah, you just start losing the advantage there, especially with the change in overtime respawns. Just getting the extra second or two means that you need to win fights a lot easier. But the fact they were able to keep it so competitive for so long is, you know, a win in my book at least. But it looks like the composition changes from the side of Blackwatch were kind of iffy. I'm not really sure why Hanamura changed off of MG. It was doing a lot of work in the background as well. McCree is good, but they just weren't playing around the McCree. They weren't trying to really use the flashbang for control. So that changed, while I think maybe a bit more of a preference change, but it looks like side of Blackwatch at least will be bringing out Widow on Hasan name. I think he's just playing Blackwatch skin champions at this point.
It would fit considering what their name is, but the switch does go back to a Genji, so they are running that same running a Reaper as their second damage dealer, so not really a whole lot of contest on the Pharah. On the side of off-meta Athena. That's going to be something to definitely keep an eye out here. But the engage comes in as Blue jumps onto point for Blackwatch, and Hadley's going to get a shoulder charge off, and that's going to allow Hasan to get the cleanup on Kufas. So off-meta Athena now in a slightly more dangerous position, down their 2 main tanks and down CD as well. Hasan saying, it does not matter that I have no hit scan, Pharah dies to me regardless. And that's going to be the point, initially at least, for Blackwatch as they take a very convincing fight, or first fight.
Yeah, they needed, really on the side of off-meta Athena, they really needed to engage a little cleaner and really, you know, let the side of Blackwatch get positioning on the point and then engage off of that, right? But in addition, they did run into Attack Buffalo with his Reaper, and that's kind of where that adjustment actually works really well. If your tanks are not getting as much backup or as much healing, it becomes very easy to just run in with the Reaper and get a few headshots and chunk them down to get you.
But as we mentioned, here comes that next fight. Moose is going to get an early pick off, and Trey is coming out from the kill feed, but a great shoulder charge from Hadley allows this to be cleaned up, and as it gives room for the Dragon Blade to come in. But CD just sticks with him, picks up 2 of his own. The res not quite invalidated by the Pulse Bomb, so a great play by Shadowcat to reset this fight, and that's going to allow Blackwatch to continue winning, and that's going to be, again, more percentage in favor of Blackwatch, definitely.
As the ultimates do build up on the side of off-meta Athena, they will have to consider if they want to go and bait in. If you're keeping track of your enemy's ultimate charge, which is probably recommended, especially if you're playing the same character as someone on the other team, it's a lot easier to track ultimates that way because you can use your own as a reference. They need to be able to do a few dry runs here, bait out a few ultimates, or at least, you know, try to get some early picks in this game before they engage.
The engage happens here as off-meta just dives directly to point, but in a world of hurt right now is Hasan as he goes down to Moose self-destruct sequence and Transcendence immediately afterward. Not really a great Transcendence, as self-destruct will burn right through that. And Halt's now going slightly, ever so slightly outwards. Off-meta Athena getting the value in terms of initial kills, and off-meta Athena now lighting up the kill feed here. Pulse Bomb will come out, pick off 1, and weaken pretty much everyone else. So off-meta Athena will win this point, or win this fight, but it does take them until 94% for that to be the case.
This is actually the optimal amount, mainly because you actually don't get hindered by the overtime meter. So if you capture it around 99, every time you respawn during the ultimate, you actually will respawn later. So it creates a little more time for the enemy team to set up. So around 95, 96 is actually a really good number because a retake basically means that you will capture 200%.
Engage yet again as a Blackwatch not content to sit around, but that's going to allow CD to just walk in and execute. And CD comes in with the Death Blossom. But right after that, the res comes back out and Hadley swings away to get the kills. So that's going to be very unfortunate for off-meta Athena, as I don't think they're even going to be able to get back to point time, perhaps. No, they do get the Primal Rage out, and he dies immediately, does Kufas, and the res will come back in, so the fight continues as Scr1be does able to get back to point in time, but the Pulse Bomb will come out to weaken everyone, and Blackwatch not really looking very good here, as the self-destruct does not make it through the window. So CD does get a double, but it's not going to matter, I do not think, as if they can get D.Va out of mech, that will force the Tracer to get back to point. Does she have enough blinks? Will Moose be able to contest? Yes, overtime. The point does not quite switch over yet, and the sound barrier allowed to come back in, so the fight continues, and the point in, of course, off-meta Athena's favor, so they are still building percentage on this point. As the kills still trading through. Again, a very long fight continues between these two teams, and off-meta Athena looking like they are going to take it and actually win it out from the jaws of defeat. They managed to build the stagger just long enough to retake the fight and win through attrition.
This is why target selection is actually super important. They were so many moments when the side of Blackwatch was a man up on an off meta thing. They just weren't able to clean up the same targets because they were forcing 3 other people. And now Hadley forces out the Earth Shatter, catches a few people, but not really that much they can do. Pops the res, so now the res will not be available for the rest of the fight. So they need to win this, and they will be working on Hasami's Dragon Blade, taking out both supports. So in the background though, no sound barrier can come out in the rest of the duration of this fight. But once again, they need to make sure they're winning this a lot quicker. And yes, CD and Attack Buffalo both able to use their ultimates off their moves to try and sustain for as long as they can. They do have overtime on the clock, and this is actually where it gets really bad because that means that the respawns are going to be incredibly slow here. They will need to make sure they get onto the point. They will sneak the Mercy back on there, and now Lucio should be able to do it on the side as well. But in the meantime, though, they should be able to win this fight. But once again, their target selection is a little lacking as they're allowing people back onto the point, but it should be more than enough with the overtime resets.
Overtime resets, of course, in effect, but it's going to be off-meta Athena, the ones that are dying more, and of course the point is not in their favor, so if they get off, they do lose, and that's going to be DragonX out of mech and executed. Mercy unable to get back in pot time. Point does go to Blackwatch, 2-1.
Score.
I mean, it's definitely something that's been a sort of a highlight of this series so far. Only 1 map in, but 3 points far. Is that team fights that are towards the end of a round, perhaps, or you know, when one team has the point, are taking a long time to finish, and they sort of stretch out over, you know, maybe 45 seconds or longer, and basically this is meaning that we're getting fewer fights per round. Perhaps getting like 1 to, you know, 3 to 4 fights in total, as opposed to a fight every push.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of committing your resources here. Oftentimes, like a lot of pro teams will specifically use dive compositions, and even if they are fighting a losing fight, they will be able to at least approach a way or engage in a way that forces out a few ultimates, specifically targeting backline. So that's kind of why in professional games you see a lot more fights and they're able to execute a lot more. That's because they're able to use their regular abilities more successfully. In the background, though, Blue is able to get an engaged, but is forced to use his jump to at least gain some more momentum onto point. Hadley kind of gets left alone, no real healing there, especially as the Rhino just dies into the enemy team. So right now, it looks like Blackwatch should be able to at least sustain a little more blows to the side of off-meta Athena, just because they're able to take out that Reinhardt so early on in the fight and able to commit a few more resources on their side. Will be able to get first take of this point.
So yeah, off-meta Athena, of course, capturing that point first. Remember that Command Center was the one I believe that they captured, or that they won. So this is not unfamiliar territory for them, as Blackwatch now filtering back in. So Schmoop and CD on that high ground, that Fire and Mercy combination. Blue jumps off to flush them out, but Diva will go right back up DragonX. And has an aim, of course, now switching to a Widow of all things. Takes down Schmoop. And Blackwatch are now looking very, very strong here, as the kills are looking still. What was initially a dangerous fight for Meta Athena has now stabilized slightly as the trades are coming back in. And the Tactical Advisor will come out from Moose and is going to pick up none, but it does provide a lot of pressure. And that's going to actually be Blackwatch losing that fight, although it looked initially really, really good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blackwatch is just the composition that they're running isn't very good at engaging off of the Winston. It's kind of you're kind of required to force in the Reinhardt in addition to it, and they will do very well if the enemy team actually engages into them. So that's a good news from them. Attack Bubble able to get that Blossom up, cleaning up some part of the fight. Diva Bomb will not catch anyone here, but Rocket Barrage from the backline of CD will. Luckily, they're able to turn and immediately change the context of that fight. And now Hadley with the Discord Orb on him will get taken down by the Zenyatta Anarchy, and Anarchy unfortunately will be traded back. So Blackwatch really has a good potential here, although it's all up to Name in the background just to get some picks off. And this is where Widow really works. Unfortunately, he will get booped off by Winston, luckily able to commit that grapple to secure himself up again. And this is where Widow kind of struggles sometimes. If you're not really getting a lot of kills, you are going to be jumped on, especially looking at that Winston and Diva combination, both allowing them to force him up. And as this is going on, the side of Blackwatch not able to gain control of the point. So the percentage is still taking up on the side of off meta, but although now it looks like they have a man advantage, we should be able to reset the point. Right now overtime is coming out, so we need to make sure they conserve people who are still alive. Rez comes out again just to add another man to that group, and Blackwatch needs to make sure they're maintaining a little more control on their side.
So Blackwatch now in a much better position as they do have nearly the capture and they do have more manpower. But as we mentioned, they took them all the way to overtime to do it. That 99% and Primal Rage will come back out for the side of Blackwatch to knock them away from the point, and they will cap here. But it took them an awful lot and an awful long time to do it. So it's going to be the side of off-meta Athena just retreating for the moment, looking to restabilize and reset with the team. The team composition has changed, I should say, for Blackwatch, as Hanamura has gotten off the Widow and is now on a Hog, so pick character seems to be his thing. The hook does come out, picks off CD, and that's going to delay off-meta Athena unless they can get Hanamura before that, but he does escape, so off-meta Athena now just going to retreat all the way back to their spawn, waiting for their players to respawn in, and waiting to take that next fight.
Yeah, once like a triple tank composition is able to secure the point, it's actually very hard for a dive composition or something that's more slow pushing to really regain it. So it's a lot about making sure Hanamura really gets a lot of picks in the background. He does pick the Diva out, and allowing Defense Matrix to go down would be a huge win condition here. But Attack Buffalo not able to do anything else. Halley will catch out too though with that Earth Shatter in the background, and Blue trying to engage with it, and Arcane Mo's in the background, just trying to keep everyone alive as well as dealing some more damage. Hanamura with the whole Hog will be able to commit it, picking up Smoop, so no res for the remainder of this fight. And now they have the ability to actually engage, and I like Blue right now, making sure that the Lucio goes down. But looks like the rest of Blackwatch kind of just not really positioning optimally, and that's just because it's the nature of their composition, right? Attack Buffalo is a close range character, so he wants to the enemy team to engage onto him, while at the same time Blue wants to engage into the enemy team. So it's just a little disconnect right there. But so far it's been working really well, and they have both support ultimates in case they need to reset a fight for this engagement.
A great rotation of ultimates right now coming from Blackwatchers. They're not using too much or too little. They're winning the fights cleanly, and they're just getting out. And with that, they are now up to 90%. And Swoop gonna go down to an early pickoff from Hanamura as the Primal Rage will come out. Transcendence to try and defend. CD is gonna get one, so neither Mercy in this fight. No res is gonna happen early on, at least in this fight. And off-meta Athena now getting the early kills. We are now in overtime, so both teams at 99%. And off-meta Athena needing to win this fight to be able to take it to a 5th point. But the hook will come in as Hanamura continues to just absolutely dominate the side of off-meta Athena. As the res will come from off-meta Athena, and then Shadowcat back in time. So we are now back reset in terms of who is available. CD again hooked out of the sky, has the name. Hadley does miss that Earth Shatter and knocked off the point. The Earth Shatter whipping from both Reinhardts. That is very unfortunate. Off-meta Athena continuing the fight, moves from that server room, from that white room, just raining down damage. Here comes a self-destruct to zone off the point. It's going to get a kill as Arcamiso couldn't get back in time. So off-meta Athena now coming up in the kill feed. Looks like they will turn that point over. And because of how long it takes to get back to the point, looks like they will tie the map up. Indeed they do. We are going to our 5th point as off-meta Athena really showing this comeback here on Lijang Tower.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like the side of Blackwatch is as comfortable on this specific command center map, and it might just be because in most cases this command center map really does kind of require you to play more coordinated, play more engaged, right? So you can make as many mistakes and you can't make as many DM errors, right? So a lot of this comes down to individual skill sometimes, especially in the overtime session, but they're probably very happy right now being able to sell that back to 99 to 99, and now they're on a map that they're very comfortable on. So I'm very expecting to see them take this in Game 5.
As this is definitely a map that we've seen, Blackwatch do well on. It's not unforeseen for that, as the two teams we said. Again, has a name on the Widowmaker, so definitely a comfort pick there, it looks like. As off-meta Athena still running that dive composition with a Reaper. And early kills again in off-meta Athena's favor. But we have seen this song and dance before where they take that first kill and then lose the fight. And has a name picks off the Zenyatta and takes down, brings Moose down very, very low. But off-meta Athena will rotate the kills in their favor and does not lose this point, as they are going to push up aggressively here, looking to see if they can catch out anybody. But Blackwatch doing a good job there of retreating as they reset.
Yeah, has a name kind of realized that he's fighting a Widow into Winston and Diva, so that's actually the hardest thing to do as his kind of character, especially those two characters in particular. So he's managed to switch out to the Genji. He wants to get those resets and really use the dive to his advantage. And Blue, in the meantime, though, just getting the pocket kills and creating enough distraction in the backline where he's letting the rest of his team just walk into the point. Dragon X will take down him in the process, but in the meantime, if he does get D-Mech, Sound Barrier will be committed just to keep everyone alive. They have a lot of switches on point right now, and CD being able to take down Arcanum Miso. And yeah, this is just a very good fight from the side of off-meta of Athena. They're using their tank line to specifically buy the back line and buy the very damage-heavy kind of squishy targets a little more room to function, and they're able to capitalize off of, split engagements and people filtering into the point one by one. And the fact that they're not letting Blackwatch realistically get a cohesive engagement allows them to really, stall out the point a little more.
One thing to definitely note that Off-Meta Athena has been doing is they're playing around CD's Reaper very, very well, where they give him the space he needs to work, and he's not been missing, so he's just been getting those hits in and just shredding the backline. There goes the self-destruct from Dragon X. It's going to pick up the Mech and Shadowcat, so Off-Meta Athena now in a very good position here as they continue to force the Transcendence and the Tactical Advisor. We are now up to 80% as CD comes back in, picks up another 2 kills with that meaty shotgun that he uses, does Reaper. And that's going to force Blackwatch to retreat. The tables have turned as they are now up to 90%. And Blackwatch, yet again, unable to really push the issue, press the issue as the Transcendence to engage. We are now up to 97, and we'll be starting the overtime spawns now. Here comes the Dragon Blade, but has an aim, will get 1. Will he be able to get much more than that? No. CD comes back in immediately and takes him out. Here comes the Death Blossom, the defensive matrix right away. Hadley invalidating most of it as the res will come out. Shadowcat only picking up Blue, unfortunately. But Blackwatch in a much better, still in a good position here. As CD attempting to do what he can, but he will go down. So overtime, yes, in effect, but they will turn it over. And Blackwatch up against the wall now.
Yeah, they only really need to commit one more take. Luckily, they still have to wait a long time for the side of Off-Meta Athena to really gain a lot of ultimate charge. They will have both their support ultimates first, so in case they want to, potentially engage off of these and really win off mechanical skill, not really ultimate so much, they do have that option. But Hadley should be able to take control of the point with the self-destruct being available. But Moose taking down Hazen, and Hazen has been such a dynamic player on the side of Blackwatch, so it's just free moments for the engage to come in.
Here comes the self-destruct. Kufa has a free reign, so there is going to be no sound barrier, and Transcendence comes out instead. But the kills are definitely very much in Off-Meta Athena's favor, and CD just pummeling the backside of Hadley in that mech, forces him out immediately, and Hazanim does get back, but takes a Helix Rocket to the face. So that's going to most likely be it. Can Shadowcat get back? It does not look like anyone will be able to get back in time. The Primal Rage unfortunately misses. Blue misses the ledge, so Off-Meta Athena making that comeback takes it now. The map lead 1-0 as they win Lijang Tower 3-2.
Yeah, Off-Meta Athena did not look necessarily coordinated at the very beginning, but as the match went on, they've been able to play more cohesively. They have really good positioning, actually, when they are trying to engage onto a point. You can see the tanks in the front really providing a strong barrier, and the Zenyatta's positioning on the side of Off-Meta Athena is actually still really impressive and really good. He's been almost unchallenged, and when you have an ability to change discords, heal from a distance, as well as put in damage yourself, that is something that is always important as support. In fact, more so extra credit for most support players.
Some very impressive cards there as we end Lijang Tower. We will see what the pick bans are in terms of this next map between these two teams. So a quick shout out for anyone who's wondering, the Season 4 is now over, as Overwatch has so friendly reminded me. And we are going to wait. We're going to get the bans really quickly as we will get set and get ready for the next round, next map. Again, our grand finals between Blackwatch and Off-Meta Athena, a best of 5. Your casters, of course, are Scr1be and lafon, color and play-by-play respectively. We have just come off a win for Off-Meta Athena on Lijang Tower, so they hold a 1-0 lead in this series.
Yeah, it's
And
actually really interesting to kind of see the compositions and how everyone plays. Just mainly because for the most part, a lot of us are more familiar with kind of professional scene players, so we're so used to seeing all these compositions like kind of almost always work, and it gets kind of stale and boring because everyone executes the same way. But it's really awesome to see some of these teams who might not be in a professional atmosphere still trying out these compositions and realistically adjusting them so they work with the tools that they have.
And I mean, it definitely we saw in like as you mentioned, CD that Reaper play. They really the one thing I want to give props to Meta Athena for here off Meta Athena. That's two very different teams. One presumably speaking English, the other one definitely not. Is that they played around the CD's Reaper pretty efficiently, I think, and just especially on that fifth point on Lijang Tower, really gave him a large amount of space to work in, and he was probably as uncontested as I've seen a Reaper be in a very long time. So, Offman Athena definitely living up to their name here.
Reaper is actually a really good option when you find it difficult to deal with tanks diving into your backline. It's an option that I think that most professional teams will not really run as much just because the utility behind Reaper isn't very good. Plus, you're going to be more coordinated with your dive composition. So Reaper, in some way, will oftentimes be the first target to be taken out, and he's not really super effective once he pops Wraith form, and once he's not able to really kite damage anymore. He becomes very weak and really hard to work with. But CD has just been getting so much support from the rest of his team. He can really defend on both his Winston and Diva to absorb a lot of uprun damage. That way he's mainly in charge of protecting the backline and basically walking forward when he realizes that his team has the advantage there. But also props for sure to their Zenyatta player, just being able to keep him alive, keeping harmony orbs on him, keeping him awake, and as well as Discord orbs to amplify the damage that he can put out. So, Reaper does sometimes work, but it's all about, playing around the Reaper and knowing that sometimes that's going to be a win condition.
And we're just waiting, of course, for the bands to complete to see what the teams are going to pick for our second map. As we have, like I said, a small break between map 1 and map 2. So, what are your thoughts on this ban system, by the way? So the way I from what I understand it works is the winning team bans a map, and the losing team then picks from a list of available afterwards. It's similar to some other ban systems I've seen. What are your thoughts on it?
It's an interesting, in my opinion, it's just an interesting pick ban system, mainly because if you know what your opponent's map pool is, it's actually a really great ban system because for the losing team especially, you get to take away one of the options from the winning team gets to take away one of the options from the losing team that gets to pick. So the losing team effectively, if they know the map pool properly, they can specifically match up their next few maps in the future, just saying like, okay, let's take this map away from them. In case they do win the second map, they do have an option to ban out the third map or ban out an option for the third map. So it's a lot more like mind games going on in the background.
So we do have our next map in, and it's going to be Hanamura. A map we don't really get to see, or I don't get to see a whole lot as a caster, I should say. And we are going to go into it. So I just want to make sure the sides are correct in terms of who's attacking and who's defending before we head right in. But it looks like we're ready to go. It's going to be off meta Athena versus Blackwatch on Hanamura in shortly.
I'm actually very surprised to see some of these teams bringing out 2 CP maps. I feel like some of these teams specifically will practice this as kind of like a pocket pick, right? They'll be like, okay, you know what? Most teams won't be practicing. They won't be scrimming on 2CP. So if we even get a little bit of strat time in here, we'll have a huge advantage. So I think that's the mindset behind it. But at the same time, I'm actually very surprised they're using 2CP just because of oftentimes how difficult that last point is to really attack, especially on Hanamura. But yeah, in my case though, I think that it's a good pick to have and it's a good pick to force. Unfortunately, more often than none, it will result in a draw, which is always a risk you really need to take. Even the best late plans of like mice and men,
Indeed, a reference there that an old one but a good one, I think. As we mentioned, Hanamura getting set up. It looks like we're going to see a dive composition from the attackers that is a very familiar composition that we see from off-meta Athena. On the defensive side of things, running a defensive dive with the Winston Diva combination and a Pharah Mercy dropping the Lucio as they get set to defend here. As, I think we can take it. So again, and then of course the side of Blackwatch running what is a very familiar composition, I think, for us, the viewers, as they're running that Winston Reinhardt combination without really with the Genji and Soldier in the damage slots.
Yeah, this is a good adjustment on their side. It's not like a full dive with Diva, even though that would be really nice, but they're just trying to slow push it at this point. I think that's the intention of the Reinhardt, and they want to attack Buffalo on the Soldier to deal more damage in the background, create room for a little more picks. But CD is going to be a person to watch here, because CD realistically has the ability to harass them and make it very difficult for them to engage, but it's all about him getting the right picks.
So they are choosing a very defensive combination, just choosing to fight on point. An interesting decision. Hanamura comboing with the two healers to take down Winston early, and with the assist in the kill feed, the trades are happening. So one tank down, but the Soldier as well. Moose is going to take that fight or take that fall, and Hanamura getting those dash resets and those right clicks to clean up the attackers here, or clean up for the attackers here, I should say, as that's going to be point one. Very aggressively taken by Blackwatch.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the plan was on the side of the defense there on off-meta Athena, because the composition that Blackwatch is running, actually the hardest part about that composition is actually getting onto the point, but they basically let them go through for free, and C wasn't really getting any chip damage at the very beginning, so that allowed Blackwatch to really execute on their own terms and do so well when they're up in your face, because once they're able to dive, their high mobility on point really allows them to kind of escape from any real damage. So good engagement on the side of Blackwatch there.
Enemy contact.
Indeed, hero selection being switched up a little bit as CD switching off the fire onto a Genji, but it's going to be initiation with the Reinhardt. Hadley directly on point, just jumps away and is going to force that fight. Hanamura with that Dragon Blade comboed with the Primal Rage from Blue. Scr1be will get the res just to keep the fight going for the defense, but they are in desperate straits here. Blackwatch cleaned up, however, after that res, so a great combo from the Winston Genji. So CD and I should say Kufa is really comboing there, doing what a dive is supposed to, take the squishies out, dash resets through the half-health targets, and clean up the fight.
Yeah, good job on there. Good job from the side of Scr1be for staying alive and being able to commit that res. Basically, all they had to do was wait for Hanamura to kind of commit Dragon Blade and be able to res right off that. So that's a really easy fight for them to win once that occurs. And now, they have managed to stop the snowball and are able to recover. They have enough ultimates to buy themselves a lot of time. The res actually is almost up again, so that's going to be a really interesting surprise from the side of off-meta of Athena, just being able to commit that if they can. And Moose in the background does not realize Hadley's on him and will be jumping down, should be able to stay alive, but in the meantime though, Hanamura is able to isolate Kupas.
Transcendence forced out after the Earth Shatter, and that's going to be both Transcendences. This fight is just going to be a messy fight on the point. There comes CD with his Dragon Blade as Hanamura looking to try and build his to get this damage, and there's that Scr1be with the self-res, or sorry, the res, not self-res, and Hanamura unable to get the tactical visor off. There comes the Dragon Blade off as Moose gets the tactical visor off, and besieged by the Primal Rage, but it's going to be the side of Blackwatch forced to retreat here, as there is not a whole lot that they are able to do with half the team or more dead.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting right there. Dragon X actually occupied Tac Buffalo so much with that Diva Matrix, and also was able to then stay alive and not even be demexed. So that was a really good job taking out the high ground initiative, and that's something you really want to do as Diva in your games. You want to make sure that the Soldier who has the advantage and is going to be putting damage onto the point, just get up into his face and commit as much damage as you can, right? Force him to focus on you, and that's a win in and of yourself if the enemy DPS is not damaging the rest of your team.
Has the name focusing. They're trying to see if they have an opportunity to get their ultimates off. The only thing they really have here is the Dragon Blade, building that Earth Shatter slowly and that tactical visor as well. But here comes the engage as Blue just jumps the high ground, and that Winston chasing down Scr1be will get away though. Shoulder charge comes in. There's the Dragon Blade activation as Hanamura looks for something. Scr1be will use that invuln res invuln to get the remainder of her team back up. As that's going to be Blackwatch continues to get the kills out though. Dragonix does get some more cleanup. Kufa is letting the point fight as he tries to go after the high ground, but he will be taken care of. And the fight continues on point right now. Blackwatch getting the advantage in terms of numbers, but with spawns happening, this is going to be Blackwatch unable to get even the first tick here. As Tac Buffalo is just going to die or escape. Will he get out? Looks like he might. But again, the snowball very sturdily stopped by off-meta Athena.
Yeah, good job there. Scr1be has been in all the right positions as a Mercy to kind of restore the fight and bring it back, and more importantly, has been able to stay alive to use it. Now back up to 48%, and depending on how much chip damage this team takes before the next fight, may or may not have the ultimate. And Shadowcat now has the res advantage, and there's so many ultimates on their side. They can actually commit quite a few to realistically knowing that there is that small period of time where there's not going to be a res for this, and they need to be careful right now to make sure they're able to stay alive. Dragonix actually gets back into the neck just in time, so they will be able to deal with the tactical advisor, which will be his main objective.
There is a lot of ultimates on the defensive side though. Scr1be does escape, and Scr1be up now to 80% on that res, unable to get out as well. The primal rage does happen, so not non-commit as Blue forced to use that primal rage to escape, and the engage not happening yet. So here comes a fight on the high ground as they take the Winston and Diva. Diva is going to go after Tac Buffalo, so no need for the defensive matrix. When you just kill it, the primal rage and self-destruct happening. So the side of Blackwatch looking very much in disarray here as they are unable to use their ultimates. Or rather, I say that, but they didn't use any ultimates to draw those two out. And a dry push for the side of Blackwatch, but they are now down to 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock. Rotating, looking for something here. Has a name, switching over to Widow from a Genji.
Yeah, this is where I think it starts getting difficult to really attack Hanamura once the defensive team is able to gain good ultimate economy and they're not forced to commit as many engagement after engagement. You realistically run into the problem where you're starting to think how many ultimates I really need to commit in order to take this point. It's worth doing that, right? This is where Mercy really becomes a huge factor because if Mercy doesn't die, it doesn't matter how many ultimates you commit. You always have the opportunity to, get into a reset position, and maybe that's suboptimal for you. So good job right now taking advantage of the high ground as off-meta Athena right now, just preventing Blackwatch from even executing. They understand that, hey, they have trouble engaging. They need to push through with all these triple tanks, and that's not working so far.
Here comes that engage. They're just going to bully their way to the high ground, but NMK is going to get Blue off first. And Blackwatch looking very aggressive here as the kills lighting up, or the kill feed lining up red. And Kufa has managed to escape the hook that breaks the line of sight. And Blackwatch looking a little bit more skirmishy here as CD managed to escape, standing in the middle of the whole team. But the hook comes out for the first time out of position and executed. But will Blackwatch be able to engage off of this? Unknown as the fight continues. So here comes the Transcendence to try and get them, keep them alive on the point. The return Transcendence from an NK as Hazanem pulls out that whole hog to knock them off the point. But the time's still ticking down as we are now down to the last 30 seconds of the map. And the kills are still happening to the side of off-meta Athena's. There comes that res, the self-destruct as well. It's going to clear out the remainders, 25 seconds, as CD uses that Dragon Blade to take off the Zenyatta. And now, Blackwatch, what was once a wall, is now a hurtling boulder running towards them as the time is no longer in their favor. They will be able to tick overtime over as Blue is able to walk in, but he is hit by that Discord. And there comes the tactical advisor and the defensive matrix right up in his face. So each side trading, but Moose is going to get more value out of it without the Diva in his face. And they are unable to get back to point. So round one ends. Off-meta Athena losing on the first push, but stabilizing on second to really hold Hanamura.
0-1.
Yeah, that was really good job considering they got rolled on the first one and actually had to buy so much time on the second. But good job right there, Scr1be. You really have to talk about, having good Mercy mains in your games as well, being able to kind of stay alive and then pop good reses at proper times, really shifting the momentum of the fights. That's why Mercy is actually so broken. It's just because you're able to reset these fights and after the enemy's forced to commit so many ultimates. But more importantly, the composition maybe should have changed. I'm not really a huge fan of running a Reinhardt into a composition where you're really being scared to engage. But, Hazanem was basically forcing it to work, right? Because his Roadhog has been so strong, he was able to get a lot of really high priority picks, picked out Scr1be that one time that really created an opening. But unfortunately, 2CP, one of the biggest issues that a lot of pros have been talking about is just how easy it is for the defense to regain momentum again and restagger the point, especially if overtime has not been activated yet. So good job on their side. Now I'm very interested to see if they're able to get even a better time on this first take and then able to transition that into a real snowball in the second point.
So they do, again, as mentioned, have to capture 1 1/3%. Actually, I should say 1 point and 1/3 of a point. So 1 1/3 points to win this map. And Blackwatch now looking to stop that 2-0 lead in this best of 5 grand finals between off-meta Athena in blue and Blackwatch in red. So we'll see these stick on this Hanzo. I'm sure that off-meta Athena will be living up to their name, hopefully, to use that play. And Hanzo is actually pretty effective here on attack, as probably one of the better places for Hanzo is definitely attack, counter to his defensive category. But it looks like he may just be using.
That's right. Like a big thing about this Hanzo pick right now is the recent change in the meta, change in the patch, right? He now conserves his charge shot even after wall climbing, so that allows him to harass a lot more effectively. It looks like they were just trying to get a quick pick, and now he's switching back onto Barry.
Yeah, definitely using that Sonic Arrow, so we will need a pause here shortly. We have to wait for the teams to request it, but there it is. So Hadley did leave the game a DC between these two teams. Unfortunate, a second one of the night, but a different person, so that's a good thing. As we just wait to see what's happening between these two teams. So, well, we can take a quick moment to analyze sort of the picks that we have, what we see here on this point, or we see here in the match.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the picks on the side of off-meta Athena right now, they actually have a pretty good tool in order to dive in. This is actually more of a true dive composition here, right? Because you have both tanks being able to high mobility tanks able to create a lot more room, and of course Tracer in the background as well. And this is where it's a proper application of Pharaoh Mercy, right? The entire composition is extremely mobile, so you're not exactly leaving anyone out by committing the Pharaoh Mercy together. So they will be able to do that, and I think they are requesting for an unpause.
Yep, so the two teams have mentioned that they are ready, so the unpause does come back in, and away we go. This is going to be very unfortunate for the defensive side, though, as they do lose Hadley, and that means that they're down 1 for the initial fight. They could come back to hurt them, and although Scr1be the first one to go down, so Scr1be very defensive in the first point, or the first on the defense, but looking unlucky here as it goes down early. Blue forced again out of mech, but off-meta Athena building presence on the point, and Scr1be uncontested on that high ground, but the shoulder charge comes in to pick off the mechless Diva, the pilot Diva, and Hadley then swings away, gets back to recontest, and looking a little bit better now. Blackwatch may have a chance to re-stagger and reconnect, but off-meta Athena trying to build this build percentage off, as they do have, of course, close response. Scr1be the only one left alive. Unluckily, as Has the Name is just going to come back in and take that easy kill.
My ultimate is charging.
Yeah, here it's just about mainly staggering yourselves and make sure you're getting good engagements in. But it looks like the side of off-meta Athena has finally gotten a presence onto the point again. Scr1be once again is still alive, but will be taken down by the soldier in the meantime. It looks like the side of off-meta Athena is winning the on point lead temporarily. Tag Buffalo will be popping the Death Blossom, and of course it gets countered by the Sound Barrier, which allows everyone to stay sustained. And Scr1be in the background, meantime, will be able to gain ultimate charge at this fight, so he should be able to get the res if he needs it. So the res is available, and it might not be a great commit, but will bring back 2 to regain this fight if they can. Reiner will charge in, forcing the Primal Rage up. If he can knock them off of the point, this is actually extremely successful. Yeah, and right now Scr1be manages to join the fight just in time. The counter res comes in, but only manages to bring back one person. Has a name, and has a name. No ult available right now. We'll have to drill through the rest of the competition, but it looks like the rest of the side of off-meta is ignoring him almost. You actually don't even realize he's up there. But finally, the transition from Dragon X is able to get defense. Matrix into his face, and now the Pulse Bomb gonna land on there, destroy the mech, and this should be a fight that Dragon X can win with the help of the rest of off-meta of Athena. They will be able to strand Hadley on his own, and now this is where the filter comes in from the side of the defense. Not a good way to maintain control onto the point. They're able to capture with all 5 people on there. They should be able to develop more momentum here. Looking at the ultimates that are available, they did have to commit quite a few for this fight. CB will be the only one available, especially with Rocket Barrage. That should be more than enough to at least gain them a little more momentum.
The side of off-meta Athena not taking a long time to capture that point, comparatively speaking, and they used a lot to do so. So they will not be able to snowball, build a snowball quite like they wish they could have, I presume, but they do only have to capture 1/3 of the point. So getting ready to see. They do have Earth Shatter to the defense of Blackwatch, as well as that self-destruct. But looking to see, they're looking for that engage that they're trying to find. There's that self-destruct to zone them out. And it's going to capture the 2 supports. This is going to be very huge for Blackwatch, as that basically invalidates the entirety of the push without any real healing. That means that everyone's a very juicy target for the defensive side, and that's going to be that push ended with a great self-destruct from Blackwatch.
I want to know if Kufa has actually had shield available at that very moment, because he kind of just jumped in when he could have actually saved his supports for that. That's actually a small micro level decision that it's very hard to make, especially in the heat of the moment. So that's something that he potentially could have done better, but at the same time, doesn't really stop the team. They burned out D.Va ultimate, which is more than enough on their side, and now 1 ultimate down from the side of Blackwatch, and now they're able to
Dragon X just trying to force the issue, looks to see, but then he gets shoulder charge and forced out of mech. Does not use the self-destruct, interestingly enough, and the tactical advisor now from Has a Name, that's going to be the push ended yet again. So rotation of ultimates happening now from the defensive side, but there's that res coming in. Shmu's going to get a big 3-man res. There comes Tac Buffalo immediately after with that Death Blossom coupled with the Earth Shatter. So they do take the point back, but man, did they use a lot. So a res traded for 3 ultimates is one that I think off-meta Athena will make any day of the week.
Yeah, this is exactly what they mean by doing a dry run, right? They just committed a single ultimate, and it will be back online super soon, especially since, Smoop seems to be on main healer duty, and they'll be able to commit a lot more to this next fight. But now they have a lot of high-priority ultimates that they can use to win. They just need to take out Shadowcap early on in the fight, because that counter is going to be the scariest thing, especially if they manage to stall enough for Transcendence to come out from Arkham's.
Here comes that, looking for that engage time. It's going to be happening awfully shortly, though, as it's going to be Dragon X looking at the top side on that bridge side of the Hanamura. But there comes Farah. She's looking to see if she can get an area to get that Dragon, or sorry, that barrage off. And forced out of mech is Dragon X. And presence building on point. Remember, only 1 tick required. Here comes that Transcendence, so they won't have it for any sort of ultimate nullification. And the tactical advisor from on high has the name. Basically, a free reign takes out CD, but Kufa is jumping right back on him. Blue getting very, very weak and then forced out of mech. This is looking a little bit better now for the defensive side as they manage to stagger the kills. Shmoop the only one left alive on point on a Lucio now instead of the Mercy. So team composition switching up from the attacking side, but it's going to be another fight ended. 2 minutes left on the clock. Off-meta Athena looking to try and just get that one push, that one magical push that they need to win this game.
They actually have a good opportunity now that Moose has his tactical advisor as well as a Transcendence available on relatively soon, or at least pretty soon, so you should have it for the next fight. This is what's really going to create a lot more room, right? You want to set up CD for a really good rocket barrage, but at the same time, you want to make sure that they're not really putting themselves in any danger. And Has a Name right now with the Discord Orb in the high ground right there is playing relatively risky. If he gets picked off here, this is actually exactly what they need. They should be able to push it right now. No soldier available on the fight. Transcendence will be used to buy themselves some more time. Tac Buffalo has a Discord used on him, but unfortunately not able to get taken down in the fight. D.Va Bomb will be able to use it. Tac Buffalo accidentally, I think, presses Q when he really shouldn't have. The res will be the one thing that saves him if they can, but Shadowcat is just down for so long. Will be coming out very soon though, but if he can't really revive in time or gets a suboptimal res, that's going to be very good for them. But in the meantime, though, Blackwatch able to restabilize, Has a Name, taking out Shmoop and Moose in the process, and that saves them, at least for the time being.
A lot used for that push as they use a Transcendence and the tactical advisor for that. And it looked like Moose kind of AFK'd at the end there, as he didn't have, like, he just stopped firing for a second, so that was very odd. But the fight was looking pretty handily, and they didn't even have to use res, so Shadowcat still has that resurrection online and able to nullify a fight. If Blackwatch can just extend the fight till overtime, they have a definite chance of winning here, or at least forcing a draw between these two teams. So off meta Athena now, getting ready for this last push. This is now down to the last 15 seconds of the match. Here comes the tactical advisor from the defensive side, defensive matrix right on up, but Kufaz is going to be the one who dies first. And in CD's face is Blue. That's going to be the attackers down too early, and they haven't even dealt with the res yet, so this is going to be very, very unfortunate. But it looks like has a name. Sorry, I should say off-meta Athena are not be able to capture this point in time. DragonX unable to get back. Absolutely, that is it. Match complete. It is a draw, 1-1. The final score between off-meta Athena and Blackwatch.
1-1.
Yeah, that's a little messy. That's kind of when you can't panic as an attacking team. You really need to go in together. Right there, it looked like Kufaz kind of just jumped in solo and kind of got destroyed out of the fight instantly when he really needed to engage back up to D.Va. Furthermore, Sound Barrier being executed on the high ground is good, but you want to use it in a position where you guys are actually wanting to engage.
So we will find out what the situation is between to make this a tiebreak. But again, Hanamura ending in a draw between off-meta Athena and Blackwatch. So we are still 1-1, or sorry, we're still 1-0 in off-meta Athena's favor, as Blackwatch unable to tie it or to solidify from the side of off-meta Athena. But we are just waiting for that next composition, the next map. What is just trying to figure out what the rules are for the tiebreak. And we will get back to that as soon as possible. Okay, so the rules for this particular one is that the tiebreak map, if needed, is going to be at the end. So basically, Hanamura is ignored for those viewers who are unfamiliar with that. It's going to be, we're just going to move on, and if off-meta Athena manages to take this next win and the next win, then the tiebreak becomes irrelevant, I believe.
All right, so they will be banning Dorado up here, seeing what they bring back, and this is, this is interesting. This is where that pick ban process is really good if there's a lot of data behind some of these teams, because it'd be really cool to kind of say okay, well, let's actually see what maps they like using, and we can pick away that map from them. Looks like they will be using Hollywood in the meantime. It looks like Moose, they want defense first try.
So off-meta Athena will be switching over to defense, something that they've taken to favor, and so Blackwatch will attack Hollywood. As we're just waiting for the movement of all the players over to the correct side in each place. But other than that, very shortly we should see. So the teams look like they are in correct places. And it looks like Blackwatch and off-meta Athena ready to go here. So we are ready to go now. This what is the third game, but in terms of map score, only the second game between off-meta Athena and Blackwatch in this grand finals of the Scr1be Cup. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what the Scr1be Cup is, the Scr1be Cup is there's a series of, or a tournament for below 2,500 SR players. And to find out more, we are now in the second iteration of it too. So to find out more, you can look in the description. there is a Discord that you can join and to find out more, or of course follow us on Twitter at OWScrub Cup. With me, of course, casting is Scr1be. I am lafon, your play-by-play, and with that, we look like we're hearing the ready commands from the two teams, so we should be ready very shortly. And away we go. So Hollywood is the map. The score in series is 1-0. Off meta Athena. I'm looking forward to this. Hollywood has some of the more has opportunities, I should say, for some more interesting plays. Something that we've seen a lot of Pharah and a lot of Mercy, and I mean those are both of those characters are very strong in this map with its like high open sight lines that you can really rain down damage from above. So I mean, definitely looking forward to see what the two teams pick here. But it looks like CD switching to a Genji, at least for the defense, possibly. And no Mercy from the defensive side, which is something that we are not used to seeing, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, in both of these cases, I think it's just a matter about playing what you feel comfortable. Hollywood is that map where, you know, anything realistically can go. It's like the Dust 2 of Overwatch, right? It's like everyone plays this map, everyone's familiar with it. So it's all going to be about what you want to focus on more. Obviously, if you want more of a dive composition, there is a lot of avenues, even on defense, to play dive. But it looks like right now on the side of off meta Athena, they're going to play more of a conservative kite composition while they stall out for CD really to build enough ultimate charge to commit a Dragon Blade and clean up the fight. But in the meantime, though, they look like they'll be defending upper cafe, which is, you know, a position that has fallen out of favor mainly because you just give up so much of the point for free. It's really hard for you to react to kind of an attacking team. But at the same time, if their objective is, hey, let's just kite back, let's contest the point, but at the same time, just wait for our own ultimate, it's a great composition.
Attackers incoming.
And one that they are seems like they were familiar with running. So Kufa is now off the Winston, not running that dive composition on that defensive side. Running the Reinhardt instead. So looking forward to see what off-meta Athena are capable of doing here as they start to defend Hollywood. Has a name looking for that trick shot. Doesn't get it quite early. But he does get a little bit more room to work as Blue's going to jump in that backline and force that shield down as Reinhardt swings away. So Blue a little bit really be able to get out. Looks like he does manage to jump back out. So he does create that harass, that space for his team to just build their position in the high ground. And defense is going to get the first kill. Shadowcat does go down, but Hazanem is going to pick off an NK, and that's going to be a big play. Hazanem popping off here, but besieged right now by Dragon X inside that D.Va matrix, or by that D.Va in his face. So Hazanem doing work, but the rest of his team dying around him, and that's going to be that push ended for the attacking side of Blackwatch.
Yeah, that actually built a lot of ultimate charge for CD, and yeah, Hazanem, you know, very good play. That's exactly what you want your Widow to do. Unfortunately, though, it's just you're not able to keep his team sustained up long enough to really capitalize off of those Widow picks. This is the team that's kind of like it might have a difficult time engaging without really, you know, getting a pick first or without having Winston engage on there. But Hazanem right now being so strong right there, just trying to get a little more damage and really create enough room for his team. He's single-handedly really doing his work. 3 kills already, and yeah, unfortunately, yeah, there is going to be an Earth Shatter, but that's still going to buy him enough time as, you know, you're man down on the point already. At Blackwatch, they should be able to take this.
Hazanem solo carrying this point here as he just gets kill after kill. Another one comes in as he gets the body shot off on Tracer. So basically 6 kills for Hazanem or 5 kills for Hazanem as the 6th one goes to Blue. But that is a very impressive showing from Hazanem on Widow here as he basically takes that point again solo, and the fight continues here. So threat definitely needs to be neutralized here for the side of off-meta Athena, or they're going to be in a world of hurt. As Blackwatch now looking, CD tries to not get caught out, but he just stands there, tries to get the deflect off, tries to bait out Hazanem. Hazanem only taking a little bit of body damage as the cart moves forward here for the side of Blackwatch. Contested on the high ground, Hazanem just being besieged now by that D.Va. As we mentioned, that definitely needs to be something, but Hazanem again gets another kill. Tries to get off the trick shot, not quite, but Blackwatch definitely let off the kill feed here, and Hazanem another headshot and that's going to be an NK down. So Hazname definitely popping off, and another one as Scr1be goes down as well. So death to all support, says Hazname, and Hazname definitely showing what he is capable of here, as this map is looking very much in his favor as Widow just keeps getting pick after pick. A very threatening and frightening scenario. Blue will go down, but this is going to force a fight basically at the second point. So this is essentially only 3 fights in this entire game that Blackwatch had to take, and they've won all but one of them, and they're unable to get back in time. So that's going to be point 2 captured for Blackwatch, and they just stroll through the streets phase of Hollywood off the back of Hazname's impressive play here on Widow.
Yeah, it's kind of weird though, considering they recognize that Hazname probably is the biggest issue that they're trying to play against, but they're not really committing as many resources as they could to the Widow. I mean, Hazname right now is basically sitting in their spawn, just getting free damage because no one really knows where he is. So he's going to wait for the rest of the team to come out through their short spawns and be able to just engage. And yeah, Hazname uncontested still. And yeah, I mean, this is where you really need to think about where your team composition is and what your win conditions are. Your win condition for the side of off-meta of Athena is to take out Hazname immediately, and you have the resources to it, where you have the Widow if you need it. But yeah, Moose switching on to the Widow, just struggling against Hazname, as Hazname just seems so on fire right now.
Hazname has basically taken this map by storm, and I mean, there's a lot to comment on, but most of it is from Hazname himself. So we continue to put a little bit more resources in, which I think off-meta Athena really should. And Hazname, again, another kill. Here comes the sound barrier from the defense. The Dragon Blade looks like it's going to finally stabilize, but there comes the res to bring Blue back in. Shadowcat basically just resing one. Hadley swinging away, forcing them off the point, and Blackwatch really in a very impressive situation right now, as they're finally get the Hazname another kill, as the kill feed still basically has been his this entire match. Primal Rage is only going to get Tack Buffalo out. It's not going to do much more, and again the kills come in. CD falls as well. Blue sitting on the card, dangerously weak with that Discord, but manages to survive for the moment, jumps right back in. And Moose now on the Widow, trying to counter as we mentioned earlier, but not really able to find much. Hazname going after him. It's the Widow v Widow combination, but it's going to be Hazname again with the pick. And how many times have we seen that? Have we heard that said right in this match alone? As Hazname just taking this by storm. Hadley Earthshatters nothing, but does not matter. His Tactical Advisor is going to come back in and clean up. Kufaz trying to just stay on point alive to get the stagger through. Moose on the Tracer now. Hazname being forced away from the point for the moment, as Moose the only one left alive, forced to recall as the Primal Rage blocks back out. Here comes the remainder of the spawn. There comes Hazname as well. There's a self-destruct sequence. Will it capture anyone? Hazname is finally taken out by a self-destruct. He's unable to get behind the wall, but this is looking a little bit better now for the defense. Hadley, though, takes off 2, basically the full mech and the Tracer. CD's going to get 1, and this looks like a disengage call perhaps for Blackwatch. No, the res comes back in, and Tack Buffalo will go out, and the sound barrier as well for the defensive side. The fight continues, but now down to 2 minutes, as there comes another Earthshatter from Hadley. He's going to pick up 1, and the defense now going to use the Dragon Blade, just get the remainder of the cleanup. Hazname off the Widow, onto the Genji, but an impressive showing from Hazname specifically, and Blackwatch as a team, as they roll through most of the map.
Ooh, that actually was maybe an overcommittal from Blackwatch. Maybe Blackwatch should probably had, reset that play instead of burning so much time. They had 4 minutes coming into this last stage, and now they're down to 1 minute 32 seconds, and they still have to deal with an extremely healthy ultimate economy on the side of off-meta Athena. And off-meta Athena right now has a lot of win conditions. They have full spawn, which they can realistically grab right onto the Reinhardt. Reinhardt will commit the charge here, and C will pick up Archimiso. So it's 1 healer down, and now Kufaz diving into the backline, pops Primal Rage just to knock everyone back off of the point, and this allows them to play super defensively. They're just allowing them to just, create such a big gap between Blue and the rest of this team, just because they know Blackwatch has trouble engaging without Blue setting up most of the space for them.
So this is now what was once a very healthy scenario for Blackwatch has trickled away, as now we are down to the last minute of play in this map of this attack for Blackwatch. As it's going to be Tack Buffalo going down ahead of the tanks for an unknown reason. Hazname, though, turns around and executes Moose. He has definitely been the MVP of this map. Can he clutch out any more heroics here? Blue in the backline gets caught out as Hadley gets the shoulder charge. Here comes Hazname with the with the Blade, but the Transcendence and Res from the offensive side. Blackwatch getting a couple more kills here. Here comes that self-destruct sequence. It's going to capture at least 3, and there it is. The big triple kill. This is going to basically spell disaster for Blackwatch, as they no longer have any sort of defensive ultimates, and they're down to 10 seconds. Transcendence used, 8 seconds now. Blue is going to have to trickle in overtime. This is the last chance for Blackwatch, but he is going to die overtime, unable to execute. So Blackwatch taking a very strong first and second point, and not quite able to capture the third, as we get ready for off-meta Athena to attack, and perhaps take another a bigger series lead.
Yeah, that was just kind of... Honestly, I'm not really sure exactly what happened right there, but it looked like Hanamura just kind of went like just unstopped throughout this entire phase, and that's kind of what Widow is able to do, right? It's just the fact that you can get all these high priority picks, and they were channeling a lot of resources into them. They're committing the Mercy, they're committing the Discord Orb, both of which would amplify damage on this Widow and allow her to do her job. So very good job. First and second stages. Unfortunately, that third stage has always been a really tough point to capture just because of that main straightaway. It's very easy for the defense to kind of play these stally heroes like Diva if they need to, like Tracer, and keep buying time for their own team to regain control just because they have a lot shorter spawns. In the meantime, though, it is good at some point to recognize that you're not going to win a fight and to really say, let's reset, let's save what ultimates that we have available, and then, you know, re-engage, clear our heads, and find a good execution plan. And that's something a lot of teams, especially non-professional teams or teams, are just kind of like learning the ways around. That's a mistake that they make a lot. They try to commit as much resources as possible, unaware that time is slowly ticking down. If they had reset around 3 minutes and said, okay, let's figure out where ultimate and where win conditions are, I kind of expect maybe they could have had a better result. But good job on off-meta Athena, though, never relenting under the pressure and making sure that they're able to stay safe.
And we see Hanamura now on that Widow, something that we mentioned a lot in the first round of attack. Will it pop back out? As the defensive composition is very interesting. Running the Widow and then a Genji on top of the Zarya Reinhardt combo. Or sorry, I should say Soldier, not Genji.
Join me.
Let's up the tempo.
Genji is with you.
Yeah, I don't know why Moose is trying to play against Hanamura, as Hanamura is getting that Mercy boost. That's just such a tough composition to play against, mainly because if you don't have your own Mercy, you don't really have a way for you to commit it. Okay, so maybe that's why he switched onto it, but that you need to play safe. Like, I feel like everyone's just playing so aggressively on these Widow picks that are not really, you know, buying enough time to use their tank plans, and now DragonX is able to push them off of the high ground, and now the charge is committed. No deaths on either side, but Hadley is stranded out and away from the rest of the team, and Moose now uncontested on the high ground. This is exactly what Hanamura did on their first take, and now off meta with Athena, though, being able to take advantage on the point. Blue is left alone there. Hanamura will be jumping back on there, doing as much as he can as Genji, but he's going to be forced off as the clock, as the capture percentage ticks up on the side of off meta of Athena. This is another first point capture, and this is just a matter of, you know, teams needing to play safer. I feel like if you have a composition that has your Reinhardt, you don't want to take these engagements. You're more willing to give up space and percentage on the clock, knowing that you can stall for later in the fight.
Hanamura shown that he has a rival in Moose, as Moose comes back in and takes that point, creating a lot of space for his team. That pressure that Widow creates is huge. Hanamura, though, will get the first execution as they set up the defense here on this second Streets phase point. And they are switching off that Widow now to a Tracer. So a little bit more mobility here from the offensive side, as the cart is now stalled out early by the general store by the defensive Blackwatch. Attack Buffalo now off the Soldier onto a Reaper. So playing that close range game is Blackwatch. Shoulder charge comes through, misses. Moose is going to get in the backline uncontested, a kill on the Zen, and that's going to be CU getting the dash resets as both supports go through. So Hanamura will get one kill, but his team is gone. And Hanamura forced to contest here, as Zarya and Hanamura, the only two left alive, Blue and Hanamura. Hanamura now taken out, and Moose going after Zarya by himself. So a clean win there, without any ultimates, I may add, for the side of off-meta Athena.
Yeah, this is where they play really well together, Athena, Athena, in the fact that they are clumping together and they are like death falling together. They recognize that, you know, we don't necessarily have to worry about Hanamura or Blue in the back line if we're winning the frontline fights. And now Bufaz on the Reinhardt being able to put a shield and advancing out. And Dragon is now harassing in the background. Sound barrier will be used just to keep everyone, you know, topped up, making sure they're able to take these more risky engages. And Moose, in the meantime, recalling, harassing the backline, tank line. Hadley goes for the charge, of course, gets charged out of position. Diva Mech will explode in the background, does not get anyone. Everyone stays safe with the shield or Wraith Horns. It has a name right now. Forced to use his ultimate, not able to really recover off it, and now just only able to stall out the point, but with Discord Orb on him, not really able to do much here. And Shadowcat burning the res there will bring 3 back, but CD holding his ultimate for just such an engagement. He's trying to return the favor and make sure he's able to win, and now Buffalo, yeah, gets taken out by the Earthshatter, but the counter Earthshatter does come out, catching out quite a few targets. Transcendence will help them win the fight if they can, and now Moose needs to stay alive. He's the last damage threat besides CD that's going to be available, but they need to make sure they have more consistent damage. Attack Buffalo will put out the Death Blossom as well, and CD now retreating off into the background. They do have one ultimate left on Moose, but that seems like a little bit of overkill.
I'd say, I mean, it's looking a little bit better now for the side of off-meta Athena, as they definitely have ult economy going into this next fight. They push basically the entire place for free in terms of ultimates, and then they just take one last fight and force everything out. Hazane now on the McCree instead of the Genji. So the jack of all trades in terms of the DPS slot is Hazane. The Pulse Bomb will come out, but Tac Buffalo, still with that Wraith form, does escape it, and it's going to be basically a wasted ultimate there. And it's going to be a pressure here. Comes in that back line, but Moose is the first one to die. Unfortunate. Shadowcat does go down as well, so the weakness of the side of the attackers. The trades coming in for both sides. Here comes the Primal Rage from the defense and the Sound Barrier immediately after to return it to the favor to try and keep the team up as much as possible. But this is definitely looking like the side of Blackwatch is in the favor in terms of positioning as well as life on the cart. Hazane getting kill after kill as well. Something we've said quite a bit. There's that headshot going off onto Moose. This is looking very, very profitable or promising for the side of Blackwatch as they execute everyone. There's that High Noon again. It's not going to capture anyone, but it doesn't matter as everyone else is dead.
Yeah, right there, though, it's all about kind of how many ultimates you really want to commit to that fight. So they still have managed to save quite a few, but in the meantime, though, it looks like the defense on the side of Blackwatch actually able to gain a lot more ultimates in this process. They have the Earthshatter and they have the, the Death Blossom, which, can be easily taken care of if you want to pop a Transcendence to negate all the damage there. But CD still available on the high ground out there. He's really playing it safe. He wants to take out any backline threat and has a name. Is one of the people you really want to take out if you can. Arc Miso gets pushed out of position, and there's not a lot of defensive ultimates that can be used. But CD, though, does get taken out by Blue, and good job from Blue right there, Transcendent, able to keep everyone alive and really, making sure that the Death Blossom not able to do as much. But unfortunately, you really need to use it to either engage or disengage right there. And with both your DPS stealers down, maybe it wasn't such a great decision to commit it to the fight, or you need to commit it to keep, like CD alive during the Dragon Blade or any of those other availabilities. But now they have to basically fight this with only one ultimate, the Earthshatter being available, and they have to do it into a Mercy Rise and into another Transcendence.
And into a Primal Rage as well, as that's coming online from the defense side. One thing to note from that last point, Hazane with that flashbang and the left click basically allowed Blue to get the cleanup on the Dragon Blade. So Hazane definitely providing a lot of influence here on this map, as he is coming online hugely for the side of Blackwatch. Here comes that fight as they rotate through the saloon. The Earthshatter is going to pick up Hadley as he loses that play, and the shoulder charge will come out as well, picks off Tac Buffalo. Here comes the res immediately as Shadowcat picks off the 2 that did drop, as we are now in overtime. So overtime spawns are going to be affecting both teams. Hazane another kill, another one entirely, and assists a third one. So Hazane is going to be able to clutch this round out with his team. Blackwatch is going to capture Hollywood with a final score of 2-1.
Match complete.
And we are now tied up at 1 in this series between these two teams. Off-meta Athena taking the first map, Lijang Tower, and Blackwatch coming back with a third map in Hollywood.
Yeah, this is really kind of an interesting terminal defense. I kind of expected off-meta Athena to commit more onto their ultimates and really, you know, try to get a wombo combo available so to get a really easy clear. And more importantly, I guess they kind of committed so many ultimates, not really thinking about where the mercy is, right? And that's one of the very important things. You need to keep track of like what ultimates the enemy team has used, and then use that information to then figure out a good game plan. But obviously, good job on the side of Blackwatch being able to hold them so well. The card was so close to capturing that second point, and that could have changed the entirety of this match.
The entirety of this match, unfortunately, not changed. So we go into game 4, map 4, tied up at 1. And the reason for that is because map 2 was a Hanamura that ended in a draw. And as the rules of this tournament works, it then gets dropped to the 5th map, or becomes the 5th map, where if it makes it that far, we then get a tiebreaker. So Anubis being banned off right away, and it looks like we will get to see what the next map is very shortly. And I guess a quick reminder for those of you who are watching, this is, of course, the grand final of the Scr1be Cup, a tournament designed for players of 2500 SR or lower. So basically, any players that are of that rank can sign up, and you can find out more by joining the Discord, which is in the description of this Twitch channel. So twitch.tv/OW Scr1be Cup. Or, of course, you can find out more at OW Scr1be Cup on Twitter for more. All right,
yeah, we'll be taking a 2-minute break in the meantime.
So a 2-minute break. With that, we are going to cut away just for the moment. We will be back very, very shortly. All right, welcome back everyone to the Scrub Cup Grand Finals between Off-Meta, Athena, and Blackwatch. We are all tied up at 1 here as we head into our 4th map between these two teams. And numbers not working, but that's because we had a draw earlier on Hanamura between these two teams. As I mentioned earlier, Lafon back on play-by-play, Scr1be with me as my color co-caster. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, and now I'm excited to see how these teams are able to take it onto a COD map and see, realistically, if the side of Off-Meta Athena can then, capitalize off the round 1 victory on Lijang and, bring it back onto this other COD map.
So that was, in fact, the case. Lijang was a closely contested 3-2 final score. So was a long map, and getting ready here for that next map in Nepal. The team composition is getting ready. It looks like the side of Off-Meta Athena running that DPS or the dive composition with a Reaper, and then the Diva Reinhardt combo for Blackwatch. But we get ready for that first engage. Is going to jump directly on the point, and the fight continues, or the fight begins, I should say. The shoulder charge comes out, Hadley gets booped away, doesn't get much value out of it, but the first kill is going to go to CD. Has it immediately afterwards on the supports, and Dragon Force out of mech. This is looking very, very promising right now for both teams, you could argue. But CD gets another one himself, so Off-Meta Athena definitely looking a little bit better here in terms of what is happening. CD just jumps the backline with that Reaper and just goes in, and that's going to be Off-Meta Athena taking point early as we get ready, as the spawns come back in and get ready for that next fight.
Yeah, CD has been playing very well off this tank line. He lets his tank line jump in basically to create distraction. He just kind of comes in and basically then just, uses the shotgun at very close range, gets a few headshots, and able to clean up the remainder of the fight. So CD has been playing extremely well with his tank line, but he needs to make sure he does not get dove upon, or he's not the first person out of the fight immediately. And in the meantime, you can see there he's using a flank just to get in the back line, try to take down Shadowcat, immediately will force out the Wraith Form, and Hadley instead will take down Schmoop, so not enough healing available, but Dragon will trade down on Has a Name. And now this fight is basically even in a way, but CD, being able to in such close range, dealing with all these tank threats, and great double pulse bomb from Moose, allowing them to clean up the rest of this fight, and allowing them to stay more and jump in.
So 1 ult win there from the side of Blackwatch as they continue to hold this point. As you mentioned, a great pulse bomb from Moose is going to get a double kill, sticks on the Reinhardt and just takes out the soldier who was next to him. And that's going to be... The ults are coming online now for the side of Blackwatch, but this is a very tough point to capture. CD sitting up there with that Death Blossom, looking for a cheeky play, jumps down, and is he going to come in with that Death Blossom? No, he wraiths out instead, doesn't see an engage that he likes. Here comes a sound barrier from the defense. It hasn't even immediately used the Dragon Blade, but there comes that Death Blossom to take out one. Has him only to get one kill out of his ultimate, but he does force out Dragon Sound Barrier, I should say. All of them getting confused in my mind there for a moment. Moose is going to pick up another kill, and there comes a res immediately, but it does not pick on. It does not pick up everyone who died. Here comes the Transcendence as well, so both support ultimates down. The Earthshatter is going to pick up just Kufaz as he jumps Schmoop as well. And this is looking a little bit more promising right now for Blackwatch. CD gets 2, Pulse Bomb Wisp. CD gets 3 as the Transcendence comes to keep him alive. CD trying to clutch this round out. There's a self-destruct from Dragon to force everyone away from the point. It's going to pick off Hadley. Hasname is going to get 2. CD comes in with the remainder. Will Winston be able to get back in point of time? Overtime is taking out? No. It's going to be 0.1 to Off-Meta Athena from clutch plays from CD.
Yeah, that's kind of what you really need to do if you're running a Reaper, right? If your enemy team is not really paying attention to you and you're able to get in these very close ranges and start, left clicking with your shotguns, you do a lot of damage, and that's exactly what their win condition was. But more importantly, though, it kind of looked like they just weren't super coordinated, because once you have a Transcendence into into a res, you should be realistically winning that fight, and you should be, focusing on CD if CD is being the issue for you. Their composition has the ability to do it, so I fully expect them to try to make some adaptations and be able to focus him down on this map and sink them.
Has the name switching to the McCree off that Genji, so maybe thinking he can do a little bit more priority play on that McCree, a little bit more left-clicking capabilities on this damage dealer. As we get set, there's not much change on the side of Off-Meta Athena. What works, don't fix what ain't broke, right? As the set comes back in, they're going to dive the point. Both teams electing to fight directly on point. CD comes in for the flank play, but he is immediately faced with a defensive matrix and a soldier, so we're forced to Wraith out. Goes after Shadowcat, not able to get much value, but Moose landing that Helix rocket. Tack Buffalo goes down early, and Kufaz gets some more cleanup inside that small, tiny room. So off-meta Athena looking very, very promising here. Hasname does force the the D.Va out of mech, but is not going to do much else, as this is going to be the point one definitely to off-meta Athena, as they are already showing a much better position here than they had in any other map.
Yeah, off-meta Athena right now is abusing the fact that the side of Blackwatch is willing to kind of come in and engage them in close range. And, this is exactly coming back to that win condition thing, right? You have to figure out what's causing the most problem with the other team. CD is actually the one factor that's causing them so much issues, because once they start getting into close range, they're going to be punished for any missed charges that they make, any bad dodges. And now Kufaz will be tagged with the bounty. No healing available for him in the background, but CD once again takes down Tack Buffalo. And in the meantime, though, Hasname is trying to duel two people, but not really getting any results there, as CD once again just forces them into that underneath room and just saying, like, okay, you can come after me, but I'm more effective with my shotguns down here. And with that, he's able to maintain control over the point.
CD definitely showing a highlight of this map, the one who's, and again, shout out to Kufaz, who's funneling into there, giving CD a lot of room, or I guess the opposite of that, a lot of close quarters area to work in, and it's definitely working. So here comes that composition as a little bit of a change up here. Ana and Winston, as they're going to drop down, and they switch to a Reaper of their own, but CD says, no, I'm the better Reaper, and Tack Buffalo forced to Wraith out, as CD as well comes back in. So here comes that first boop. A Schmoop gets the kill, so here comes the defense itself. The CD with that Death Blossom picks off one, and the res comes in, but a kill comes off, and Shadowcat only able to pick up two, as the fight still gets lost. The Primal Rage as well. Hasname will go down. Bio Grenade and Sleep Dart used from Archamiso, and it's not, or Archamiso, and Primal Rage into a corner spells bad times for almost anyone. Up to 85% now, and it's looking very, very dire right now for the side of Blackwatch.
Yeah, they should be able to touch the point. Tack Buffalo, I think, can commit the Wraith form onto the point, or at least they have Winston dive in instead, and they should be able to trigger overtime. But once again, this is all about not trying to get into that small area underneath everything. Yeah, Type of Budget will be used, cancels out has a name right there with the Dragon Blade, no commit on there, and Transcendence on the point, keeping everyone alive. Good hold from Hadley right there, making sure that he got a high value Earth Shatter if he can. But D.Va in the meantime, though, will be committed, and Hadley has his back right to your CD, and this is exactly what CD wants to do. He just wants to take some free shots into the back line. Good flanks right there, and overtime will be ticking down. And yeah, no answer for CD at all from the side of Blackwatch. They're just not having a good time trying to take these close quarter engagements. This might be a good time where they have to think about changing their composition more to really deal with it more. Maybe run a McCree, right? Force him to fight against you in these close ranges, and also have that control ability in the flashbang.
I mean, CD has been nothing but dangerous in this entirety of the map, but now we're spreading to a little bit more open of a playing field. And Sanctum, of course, a very close quarters region, which CD is able to punish brutally. And on Shrine, they definitely abused the fact they took the fight on point and allowed CD to work in there. So will they do the same thing here on Village, or will it be Blackwatch coming back in with a bit of a better showing? So they are switching their composition, running a more what is affectionately sometimes called a Korean dive, but modified slightly as they're running the Reaper as well. So Reaper McCree combo alongside the Winston and D.Va. So a slightly Frankenstein of a composition, some mobility, some not, as Blue engages on the high ground. Hasname uses that flashbang, will not get value from it as Kufaz comes back in, but the first kills come on, and it's a trade as CD, again, another one, but Hadley picks off Ananke, so one support for a tank, and again, the side of Red lighting up the kill feed. CD again with another kill. This is going to be that point captured early as, yeah. Again, the third point capped by the side of off-meta Athena, and Lucio does get out as Moose unable to really secure that kill, but no matter.
Yeah, there's actually a small patch change that actually might be helping CD out a lot in this engagement, is that once you Wraith form, you actually reload completely. So what he's doing is he's putting himself into very high pressure situations, and then using the Wraith form to not only reposition, but also get into good positions when dealing with the squishy targets in the backline. So CD right now being able to return onto the point with a preloaded gun already, so being able to convert off of that is especially important. Sound Barrier will be committed just to win that fight, although, you know, maybe an overcommit, but at the same time, they have a lot of ultimates they can kind of save for. They do have another control ultimate in Diva Bomb, as well as a Death Blossom now being online again. Kupaz soon going to have the Primal Rage available as well. So the side of Blackwatch right now has to start thinking about, you know, what changes they realistically need to be doing. Shadowcat will be the person to watch, as you know, she has the res available for the fight, so she can res out of Death Blossom as well. But it's all about finding CD and not dying, and Hazanin takes out Moose out of the equation, so this is a good win for him. But 3 people kill, Shadowcat being 1 already. So good ult from CD. They're able to punish them. Shadowcat need to stay far away from the rest of the team, so they didn't get grouped like that. In the meantime, the Blue, only thing he's doing is providing more ultimate charge for the side of the defending team. As the percentage starts ticking up, they should be able to get up to 90% without being contested right here. Luckily for Shadowcat, though, dies without using that ultimate, so we'll have the ability to res and maintain this fight, but need to get on the point right now.
I mean, the side of Blackwatch has possibly just 1 fight left in them if they do not capture before they take a very severe loss in the map score. But here comes that next engage. Shadowcat caught out of position. Moose does get the... They are unable to get back to point in time. A great sectioning off from the side of off-meta Athena. Off-meta Athena just comes in and handily wins this map. Not just 3-0, but 3 100s-0, as they take a 2-1 lead in this series. And we see this play of the game, the Pulse Bomb double kill. I believe it will be to clean off this point. And indeed it was. But CD definitely showing why he's so strong in terms of his ability to play that Reaper. So just a quick note that Blue unfortunately had to drop due to some internet issues, and so we will be pulling in a sub for them. So Blackwatch playing with an even harder name to say for me, I must admit, in PotGCats 580.
I think you got it, dude. That definitely looks like a play D, dude. But yeah, now it looks like, I mean, you know, off-meta Athena doing very well on these these COF maps. So, you know, banning out Dorado right now. They just don't like playing Escort maps, so they might be forcing it onto another 2CP if possible. And it looks like they will be going with King's Row with a 1-minute break.
So just a quick break. Of course, those bio breaks that we are all familiar with. And so make sure which side is attacking first. As we see right now, it is off-meta Athena on the attack and Blackwatch on the defense. But they are going to talk it over in their team to make sure which that is in fact how it's going to stay. And I think this is as good a time as any to remind our viewers that this is the Scrub Cup Grand Final. Say that 3 times fast. Between Blackwatch and off-meta Athena. Off-meta Athena now taking a 2-1 score in lead, or leading with a 2-1 score. And it's going to be getting into this 5th map, as Hanamura was a draw, and it was the 2nd map in this set. So, so they are going to switch. Yeah, we're going to switch our stuff. It's going to be off-meta Athena on defense and Blackwatch on attack, as just making sure that all the teams are correct. So just waiting for the ready commands from both teams. Make sure the teams are correct as we... So off-meta Athena is ready. Now just waiting on Blackwatch. Casters, of course, are ready, as is our production crew. Shout out to all of those behind the scenes who have managed this to make this a really strong showing and of the 2nd season of the Scrub Cup. And shout out to all those volunteers and people behind the machine that allow this kind of production to be made. So thank you, everyone involved. Alright, just waiting Blackwatch to ready up. Looks like there still may be a bit of a break there. Waiting for teammates to get back from wherever it is they may be.
What do you kind of expect to see coming out of this Kings Row map? We saw Hollywood before, so I'm just interested in seeing, like, do you expect the same compositions to come out, or are we going to see more so like a slightly different composition because it's Kings Row?
I think, interestingly, we're going to see the same compositions, if only because Kings Row Street Phase is really strong with Reaper. Like, Reaper actually is one of the places where he's not, because of how close quarters it can be, you can definitely make it work a lot more. So I think it may actually be the same compositions because Kings Row fits all the same kind of ideas. We may see less Farah, but I think it's definitely an interesting possibility to see what's happening here. So, and it's Archimis, not Archimiso. Alrighty, so we do have the correct pronunciation. Unfortunately, it is a 016. I made a mistake there. Alrighty, we are loading in to Kings Row. It's going to be off meta Athena on defense as Blackwatch attacks first. So, one thing we did see on Hollywood is that Hasaname was on the Widow, and that's putting it mildly, as on the Widow does not describe the bloody warfare that was happening against off meta Athena, as he solo capped basically the first 2 points. And cleaned up a lot of the third point as well. So back on the Widow here, and it could be Kings Row is a very strong Widow map, especially here on the sight lines of the first point. So will he be able to replicate that kind of dominance that he had early on in a previous map, or will the side of off meta Athena be able to shut him down slightly? And defensive side is going to be a more... So I said we may not see any Farah, but that was incorrect, as CD is on the Farah here. Running the Farah Mercy on the defensive side with the Reinhardt Diva Soldier and Zenyatta rounding out the remainder of the team composition for the defense.
A moment to enjoy some peace.
An interesting offensive side, though. There's running the... okay, so running a Winston, not a Zarya. It was at one point just a Zarya solo, or Zarya with the... Reinhardt, which I hadn't seen, but they're running a Winston now with the Reinhardt, which is a composition they've been running all night long, and has served them relatively well. But can they convert the side of... Can they convert a victory here, or will they drop? Remember, they do have to win here, otherwise off-meta Athena will be taking this victory in this grand finals. We're now in our 5th match between these two teams. As the fight begins, Reaper attack Buffalo looking through Hotel, but he immediately gets discorded and is forced to retreat as he doesn't see much angle attack. Goes after Schmoop, but Schmoop rotates back into his team, and then Attack Buffalo just assassinated by the remainder of the players in that team as they're playing up in a group. Hasaname has a decent line of sight, but not much ability to... does not manage to get any sort of damage otherwise. The fight engages Hasaname with that offense, but is immediately besieged by DragonX, who forces him away. Hasaname drops off the edge for a moment and just jumps right back up. And a great right click from Moose to get him with that Helix rocket from afar. And that's going to be another source of damage down for the offense. As we see the two teams continue to skirmish. The shoulder charge comes in on the Diva mech. DragonX not quite forced out, and Moose is going to clean up Hadley. So this is going to be very strong play from the defensive side.
That res comes back in to kind of give CD a little more room to kind of just fire into the backline right there. And this is actually really good on their side. Hazamane has been forced to switch off onto the Genji, which is already kind of, has an issue dealing with the Pharah, but it looks like the rest of the side of off-meta Athena has just been deathballing it. They really just don't care about, hey, losing the point, exactly what they want to do. Their composition does so well off of stalling the point as much as they can. And yeah, that Earth Shatter, unfortunately, though, is going to catch everyone out of position. Transcendence will buy themselves a little more time, and the Tactical Visor comes out also, but the enemy Transcendence will be forcing them out to do a little more, though. But CD, still uncontested, needs to be able to grab quite a few kills. Rocket Barrage does get used before CD Cloudy, able to, channel that damage back onto them. And yeah, that you really need to stay behind the shield. It kind of felt weird that Kufaz just moved out of position, knowing that Reinhardt potentially could have a shatter. But at the same time, the general idea of that composition was exactly like that. You want to use Hotel as a barrier. You want to stick together as a death ball composition, and then re-engage when you have the advantage.
Indeed, and it's going to be the point loss for the side. They're going to give off a lot of space here as they're looking to take away for their team to get back. They're actually playing incredibly defensively as they're just giving up a lot of the streets phase are off meta Athena here. And they're playing incredibly backfire. It looks like they're trying to wait for everyone to funnel back in before they pounce back on them. But Blackwatch now getting free cart time as off-meta Athena still continues to play very, very defensively. There's a great Earthshatter, picks off 3. The shoulder charge is going to come back in, and Kufaz, playing the long con, takes away that fight by baiting out the entirety of the flanking or the offensive characters to a great Earthshatter. So they do lose a lot of ground, but they still stabilize pretty well with just one ultimate in that Earthshatter.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really smart decision there by giving them ground, right? The main thing the biggest issue with losing the first point of these hybrid maps is the offense has the opportunity to snowball into the street space and gain as much ground as they wanted. Good job and good decision on them for sticking together as 6, waiting for everyone to come and re-engage. And more importantly, they knew that only one person was on the cart at the time, so there was a huge mismatch in the numbers, and then they were able to get a free Earthshatter off because there was not enough respect on the side of the offense.
The offense there now choosing to run the Blade, and Blade's going to come back in, so Schmoop's going to go down early. CD comes back in on Archimus, and that's going to be the Dragon Blade picking up too as Hadley cleans up Kufaz. So Hazaname coming in again clutch with another kill, and Hazaname and Hadley just combining to nullify any defensive position. So another one ultimate win for the offense. And this is going to be basically back and forth trades and one ult wins. So can the defense stabilize, or will they crumble and allow this point to be captured? Attack Buffalo now on the high ground does have that tactical visor available for use, so Diva is going to have to be able to get up in his face with that defensive matrix to nullify it. Hazaname spamming, gets down on an NK, but forced to deflect as he's hit with that Discord orb. The right click comes out from an NK and hits him. Hazaname does go down. The contest happens at the last moment, and it's looking a little bit better for the defense as they contest at the very last second. And it looks like they win the fight initially, but there's that Earthshadow that picks up, and a high charge Zarya means that this is going to be very unfortunate, but does kill herself with a right click of her own as Hadley gets a shoulder charge off, and NK takes another kill for himself. So a great recontest at literally the last moment. 0.62 meters, in fact, before the point was captured. CD looking for a cheeky pickoff, doesn't see anything and is forced to wraith out. But again, off-meta Athena has really been good on this map specifically with their engage and disengage calls. And it has really shown in how they've stopped essentially 2 pushes with almost nothing.
Yeah, and right now in the flank position, we do see Moose with the Tactical Visor available, raining down some little more damage right there, and forcing them to change positions. And this is where it gets really difficult, right? Being able to play around this small alleyway right here, but that charge gets punished by Hadley. Actually, Hadley gets saved just in time by that good Zarya shield, and also getting that pocket from Mercy and Kufaz. Not getting enough healing in the background, but Transcendence will get popped, and Hazami with this Orb on her should be get taken out. Relatively low Muse now in the meantime with Tactical Visor does not get behind the Diva defense matrix in time, and now CD will have to try to figure out a way to fight on his own. The counter res comes in, keeping the side of Blackwatch just topped off and full, and now Hadley just being able to swing his hammer around, knowing that there's almost no threat on their side to stay alive. Schmoop trying his best as Lucio just to skirt around, will stay alive, but will not be able to stop them. stabbing. Actually, Scr1be comes into the background, will just barely tag it, but unfortunately not for long. 1 minute 46 seconds for this last push on boundary.
But a great stall out there as they do lose the fight, but they manage to stall out about 40 seconds worth of time. So not entirely a lost cause, and an early pickoff means that the offense is going to be taking this next fight at a disadvantage, even with the favorable spawns. So Shadowcat bullied off the high ground, has an aim as well, taking his licks to DragonX, and as the fight continues, oh, but DragonX booped off the map, and that's going to be unfortunate as a free kill. Hazanim is in the backline now, the sound barrier as well, to prevent it from happening. There's the Death Blossom on Hazanim, so Hazanim not going to get value of the Dragon Blade, and the Earthshatter comes up, picks up 2, is going to pick up 1 kill. Does not matter as the fight continues to go in the offensive favor. The swinging away as Hadley rebounds for that Fire Strike on an NK. Self-destruct is going to capture perhaps no one. It's going to capture 2. Or capture 1, I should say, as CD cleans up the other. And there comes the res that only picks up Archimus, unfortunately. Though it does allow the Transcendence to come out to continue the fight, as Hadley picks up a shoulder charge kill again. CD contesting on the point, the shoulder charge and Earthshatter combo from Kufaz. Another kill on Hazanim by CD. So CD doing work yet again in that front line, just raining down damage in that tiny, tiny little area as Reaper. Here continues the stall. CD's trying to find anything he can. Scr1be does not get shoulder charge this time, but playing with fire is he. And Scr1be and there comes the Death Blossom to pick up another one. Attack Advisor to clean up the remainder. A big 3-man res is going to be enough. No! Attack Advisor that just booped off the map as Attack Buffalo just runs away. Unfortunate, as that is going to be a big, big misplay there for the side of Blackwatch, unfortunately, now in overtime. So this is, regardless of what happens, and Earthshatter only captures 1. The sound barrier is going to keep him alive, and Scr1be gets shoulder charge after the sound barrier actually happens. Here's CD with that Wraith form, comes in, picks up another 2. CD doing big work. Another one. They will not be able to get back to the point in time. Hazanim does get the Dragon Blade out, but the self-destruct will swing away. Hazanim does manage to survive for the moment, but no one else left in his team, and down he goes. That is map round 1. Only 2 points captured for Blackwatch. Can off-meta Athena win it all?
Yeah, CD honestly is just playing so out of his mind right now, and this is actually he's using Reaper as multiple uses, right? Not only is he using it to kind of be able to flank and really take all of these squishy targets, but he's also using it as a really good counter engage mechanism. We saw exactly when the side of has the name popped out the Dragon Blade. He immediately popped out the counter Death Blossom in order to make sure, hey, if he's diving into me, I want to make sure he's taking as much damage as possible. The fact is, you can force the Genji during his Dragon Blade to realistically pop open, reflect for a little bit to deny some damage, but at the same time, it's reducing the number of durations, the number of slashes you can get on the Dragon Blade. So as a defensive member on your team, you're more than willing to take that trade, even though, sure, you could be reflecting damage back into your own team, but you are preventing the large bulk of the damage that comes out from that Dragon Blade.
And they've definitely been shutting down. So Hazanim has been very threatening on the other maps, but he's had very little real impact on this game so far. So off-meta Athena really focusing on limiting the opportunity he has, not necessarily so much focusing efforts on shutting him down, so much as making it awkward or inaccessible for him to activate any of his abilities. And we see him now off Genji onto the Soldier for the first time. So definitely pressuring him quite a bit, and they're running a composition they seem to be very familiar with that Reinhardt and Diva composition. So it's going to be a dive comp, looks like, from the attacking side of off-meta Athena. Again, they only have to capture basically 2 3/4 of that third point to win the map and the grand finals total. But they still have to capture point A to be able to get to that. So, as we mentioned, the attack begins. Here comes off-meta Athena, looking at point A, King's Row. Moose just trying to see if there's anything there with that Widow pick, but does not see any sort of abilities quite yet. Nothing really standing out for him. Does get a look off on Has a Name. Has a Name going to threaten to peek out? No. Takes the threat of Widow a little seriously. Does not engage quite yet. On the high ground, though, is the side of off-meta Athena, as they look to dive in. So Kufaz will jump in the back line, but the shoulder charge immediately comes back out, and that's going to execute him. They are going to start the capture progress, as it's now Scr1be and DragonX on the point, but this is looking very good for the defense as they get the first 4 kills And that push is basically over. And by basically, I mean entirely over. And it's looking CD escaping with exactly 4 health, as Hasaname will clean off Moose to end that fight definitively.
That looks so good at the very start, and using that loop. But basically what you want to do is you want to change the cabinet. They're really looking around. So you want to set up in a way that they basically trap them into like a death ball, like a death pit almost, and use the high ground to your advantage. The main problem that went wrong there was Hadley got a really, really solid charge there. And if he had not gotten the charge, more than likely Moose would have been able to get a lot more room picking targets. But now they're trying again. They want to loop over again and create more room for Moose in the background, but this time no longer on the Widow, will be playing the Soldier in the background. And yeah, this engagement will come down in the background, but they need to make sure they're doing a lot more damage. And Kupad takes down both supports, and that means not feeling for the rest of this fight. But the Tactical Advisor does get used. Swoop goes down. In the meantime, though, no way to kind of just like block damage from him. Dragonex not even in the mech anymore. Will try his best to take them out. CD, good job on his part, left clicking him to death, and now they will be able to take down Pouty. And Prouty, yeah, goes down, and this will be the first point secured, and Shadowcat will be able to get an ult in the meantime, though. Still, it's like a 99%, 100%, and yeah, there's no one to res onto the point, so they will be giving that up. They do have a lot of short spawns, though, which is good on their side. They're able to put a lot of pressure. They're not going to have to take the long walk back, so that's good on their part, and now it's all going to be about how off-meta Athena is able to kind of transition this lead and see what ultimates they can use and if they can gain any ground at all during the street phase.
CD not really given an opportunity yet to shine as Reaper, as Kufas did a great work on that first point, jumps in, creates harass on the back line, takes down both supports, and they're just going to inch this payload forward. They do not have any real Reinhardt counters here, as the Earth Shadow basically has free reign, and there it is. As I mentioned, a big 4-man shatter, 5-man shatter in fact, and that's going to be the Transcendence to clean out the remainder of the fight. But that is it. With one Earth Shatter and the Transcendence, that is the fight basically is completely over for off-meta Athena there.
Yeah, that's actually a good dry run. They didn't commit any ultimates at all, and they basically... Yeah, Kufaz, I don't know why he switched off to Reinhardt there. Like, a Primal Rage is actually super important here, and you know that the one big factor here that's going to cause you an issue was that Shredder, and he doesn't have anymore, so I don't really agree with him switching off here, as this composition kind of doesn't really even work, because you don't even need a Reinhardt really, but they're going to be functioning off of that, and they're going to dive in. But meanwhile, in the background, the Tactical Advisor is going to be used. Hadley charges in, and the Sound Barrier will keep them up sustained. And in the meantime, though, Tac Buffalo still trying to buy his time for a perfect Death Blossom. Will jump down, triggers it in the background, and catches so many people up. The defense figures will eat out as much as it can, but there's no res for the counter of this fight. And yeah, Dragonex will take down Arcane Miss. But yeah, that's not a great reset of the fight. And yeah, good job from Tag Buffalo, showing a lot of discipline. Even though the rest of his team was going down, he knew that all to do is land a few damages on his squishy targets, and we will be able to stagger them. We will be able to stabilize. And around the meantime, they'll see trying his own flankers.
So now we see some team composition switches coming up from the off-meta Athenas. They now switch to an Ana. And here comes a big play from CD, as he says that Death Blossom got 2, mine gets 2 as well. And he gets out as in tied 2, so CD picks up a 3rd kill and a 4th. This is all CD's show, and we're just living in it. And that is not how that that's not how that line works at all. But Moose goes after the Zen, picks up the kill, and that's going to be a clean win as CD picks off basically with another 1 ult win, that first choke.
Yeah, and right now it's all about the decision making. Do they want to stop them at the cart right here? And CD actually has a really good position in the backline currently, so he's going to be waiting until they actually want to push up to the point, and then the same thing he did last time, get in the backline, just see if he can get a few catches. If you can, Diva Mech will be put down, and Kufaz does get taken out. Oddly, should have put the shield up, but that's fine. CD takes down Shadowcat in the midst of this, so no healing available. CD also will demech Diva as well, and I don't know how CD's getting away with playing so aggressively, but he just goes in the backline, left clicks Hadley down, and CD, there's no way to block him at all. Demech will finally come out, so the fact that is available. Transcendence also gets used here, but the side of off-meta Athena doing the best they can. We haven't seen this in a while, but Nano Beyblade is able to be used, and now they should be able to demech Diva and push it onto the point to capture that and extend onto that 3rd point. And now if they can push ahead and get a pick, this is actually really strong here as they wait for the card to push up onto this point. And I wanted to say, yeah, CD just repositioned himself instead, and now they are going to be able to move in. Kufast does have an Earth Shatter if they want to use it, as well as Dragon X in the background, getting a possible Diva Bomb if he realistically needs to. Will choose not to use it, but good Earth Shatter in the meantime, though, pushes everyone back. Unfortunately, no one really gets taken out, but Hadley not going to be able to get his shield up just in time. And in the meantime, though, Res will be used to solo Res Hadley there. They want to make sure their big tank is available for this, and Dragon X in the meantime will have the bomb available for this next point, and he sends it right in the back there. Yeah, Earth Shatter is used and catches a lot of people off, but that's not nearly enough as Scr1be tries to take down Hadley. Hadley not able to get up his shield just in time, and it has a name, taking down Scr1be in the backline. But this fight is just going from bad to worse, and they're fighting such a close quarter battle against Scr1be, who gets another great Death Blossom, is able to push it all the way to the end, and Scr1be able to help off meta Athena claim this victory.
Scr1be saying to has a name, whatever you can do, I can do 3 times as good, as he comes back in and carries that map. And with the assistance of his team, off meta Athena takes the victory. And with that, they win the grand finals in a total of 3-1. So off meta Athena taking the Scr1be Cup finals. They are our grand winners. And here's that Earth Shatter, that one win we mentioned. A great disengage and re-engage by off meta Athena. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to their players. And a shout out, of course, to the side of Blackwatch, who definitely provided some pushback that otherwise would not have happened. So a great final series between these two teams. And with that, I mean, what more is there to say?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, thanks to both teams for coming out. And more importantly, we did see a lot of really interesting stuff. Now, this is kind of the Scr1be Cup, right? So you're below 2,500 SR, but we saw a lot of great team compositions. We saw a lot of really good, coordination from both teams. So, this is actually a really good way to kind of get out there and start you're dipping your feet into the kind of the competitive scene. Even if you don't have the high SR that you need, being able to play like this and get this tournament experience is something that a lot of people will, find a lot of joy out of. If you're playing in these tournaments and you find out you really love practicing these strats and you really want to try to get better and scrim more, this is a great opportunity for you to get into it. So personally, very excited to see a lot of teams coming out for this.
Absolutely. And so with that, we're going to give our final shout outs to everyone involved. So behind the scenes, everyone who helped put the Scr1be Cup on, from the producers to the players to the coaches to everyone, the administrators, everyone who was here, and of course our casters who did other matches between that. But we are getting very close to the end of our set, our end of our series, and end of our broadcast. So the last final things I want to say is thank you to everyone who showed up for the Scr1be Cup. If you are interested, this was, of course, the second edition of the Scr1be Cup. So if anyone who is watching is interested in showing up for more of these, there will be a third one at some point. Do join our Discord, which is in the Twitch description, or follow us on Twitter, and more information can be found out there. I'd like to thank, of course, Scr1be for co-casting with me. Where can we find you?
You can find me on, I think, most of my social media at Scr1beOW with a 1 and 7 I. But more importantly, just follow me on Twitter, and I'll try to update you with what's going on behind the scenes of the Overwatch scene. And
that's Scr1be for you. So a shout out to our cameraman, I should say, and our generous admin Createx, who helped run this. So that's Scr1be Cup number 2. I've been lafon, your caster. You can find me around. I'm pretty much everywhere here as lafon. And with that, a thank you to everyone involved again, and good night.